myself in order here. Wow, man, today has been a something else. Today has been something else. I hope everybody's having a good week. Um, Brunette, I don't know if you're here, Shirley. You guys are here. Awesome, great. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be really, really good. Really, 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 really good. I got a few things I want to go over first. But this is a series that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. Um, for a very long time, in depth. And it's the times that I have tried to do this. The first time I tried to do it turned into the never sin again, right? The salvation assurance, never sin again. And that link is in the description. As everybody knows, that's the Bible study. You want to learn how to never sin again? That's the Bible study, right? And then I would tell you, go and sin no more. Why did Jesus tell everybody to go and sin no more? Because telling them to go and sin no more means go and sin no more. If you still sin, you are the servant of sin. Jesus said so. So this is going to be good. Today's been a crazy day, though. I don't want to talk about it. Kind of vent it just a little bit, maybe. I wouldn't say so much vent. I would say, and not brag, but definitely turned my stomach upside down for a few minutes. And I am quite, I can't say proud of it. I will say, what's the word I'm looking for here? Okay, so there, I can do both from here. Okay, that's good. Hang on. I will say, it left me feeling some type of way. So I woke up and I was sitting down and I was plotting out this whole series for the next 2-3 shows. And I was listening to music and all of a sudden the music cut off. And I'm like, what? And I hit refresh on the screen. And then YouTube's like, you've been logged out. And I was like, what? And I go to log back in. And then the screen pops up and says, your account no longer has access to YouTube in any way, shape, or form. Really long and short of it. I was like, what? And I checked Google, I checked everything, and I'm like, okay. And I checked my email, my Google account email, to see what's going on. And then this is what popped up. I got an email. And it was just, floored. I don't even know how to put it other than saying floored. But floored is the word for it. Floored is definitely the word for it. And that's the email right there. Hi, preacher. We have reviewed your content and found severe or repeated violations of our community guidelines. Because of this, we've removed your channel from YouTube. And then they give you all the soft, oh, we know this is very upsetting news, but it's our job to make sure YouTube is a safe place for all. And then down at the bottom, you see we have permanently removed your channel from YouTube. Going forward, you won't be able to access, possess, or create any other YouTube channels. So I literally couldn't even log into YouTube. Like, can't even listen to music anymore. And yeah, you could just go open up another channel. But we know that whoever's coming after my channel like that, I know that if they found out I made another channel, they just report it anyway. So I know that if I ever did actually violate YouTube's guidelines, I know that there's no coming back from that, at least for me. Everybody else can do it, but not me. That's how that would go. And so naturally, my stomach went upside down. I'm like, what the fuck? I knew they would try at some point, but I've always been very sure to keep this all Bible all the time, and to make sure that every word that comes out of my mouth is the truth, and to make sure that every word that comes out of my mouth can be backed up with scripture, and to make sure that no matter what I do, it is educational purposes, it is the truth, and that, what can they really say to me? I don't judge anybody for anything, which makes me kind of pro everything, right? Like pro-choice, pro-LGBTQ, pro-BL, pro whatever. I don't care what you want to be, but if you're a sinner, you're going to hell. And that's what it is. Like, I have no judgment against anybody. I don't condemn anybody. I don't lie to anybody. We don't do anything. So I knew that. And so I emailed them and I appealed it. And within 5 minutes, they said, after taking another look, we can confirm that your channel does not violate our community guidelines. Thanks for your patience. And then at the bottom of that, when they said we put your channel back up, to make up for it, I just thought, like, holy shit, that's how much hatred people have. And stemming from that, going from that, like, I mean, at the same token, it is kind of cool. I beat YouTube today. Like, I beat YouTube, and there's nothing. They said they've reviewed my channel. I have not violated any community guidelines, which I haven't. I've never even had a strike on my channel, not once, not once. And if you could just imagine how many people, what do you call it? How many people flag my channel every show we do? I thought it was kind of neat. I mean, and that was just the start of my day. That was right when I woke up. So I do hope you guys are having a good week. This has been. They came after my channel today, yo. So all that being said, that's going to roll us into the next step of this. So this is going to be a gospel 101, how to preach the gospel, how to do this. Like, you guys want to know how to do it? I know what happens a lot of times is when I show somebody and they get it, it all clicks for them. They're like, fuck yeah, we figured out they go and they read and they figure it out and they put everything together and they understand it all. A lot of people have problems getting other people across that finish line, right? They have problems with the clean out process, right? Cleaning somebody out, how to actually convert somebody so that it sticks, how to prove them how to do it. I mean, that's what it is how to do it. And so that's the series I want to do with you guys. That's what we're going to do. That's what this is. It'll probably be a 2 or 3 part series. It is also, more than welcome to be a shit show. Anybody can say whatever in the comments. It's not Bible study per se. But before we get into these things, before I start going over the whole process for it, I want to go over some things with you guys. And I mean, it sucks because I know everybody's going to show up in like 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. And they're going to miss all of this, which is kind of what I want to avoid. Man. But nonetheless, you have to understand that doing this, it's the end of yourself, right? It is literally the end of yourself. The minute you open your mouth about this with people, it's the end of you. They're going to hate you. They're going to come after your channels. They're going to come after your profiles. They're going to come after your posts. They're going to come after you as a person. They're going to call agencies. They're going to do things out of hatred because they walk in the way of Cain, right? That's, oh man. You guys don't know how much I wish I could just have music in the background for this. Because they walk in the way of Cain. What is it? 1 John, not as Cain, who, let me finish. Not as Cain. John chapter 3, verse 12. I'm there. Good. Right here. For this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain. What's unique to me is that he said we should love one another, not as Cain. It's saying that Cain did love Abel, but it was in love, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Why did he do it? Because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. Abel didn't sin. Abel trusted God. And I could just picture the two. Cain worked in the field. Abel was he was a shepherd. He was a tender of sheep. Excuse me. And Abel slaughtered a sheep, right? What do the sinners do? Oh, hi, Shirley. What up, Jason? What up, everybody? What do the sinners do, right? I would ask you guys, if you went out in public with a sheep and you cut its throat in front of everybody, what would the sinners all do? What would they do? They would start screaming, that's animal abuse. That's blah, 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 blah. And Abel took that and offered it to God. And Cain was mad because God accepted Abel's gift When Cain grew everything out of the ground, put it in the baskets, Cain was the vegan. What up, brunette? What up, Donnie? Oh, he said brunette, but what up, Donnie? So Cain was like the vegan, right? The leftoid, the warped mind frame, and judged his brother for killing that sheep, and then got mad when God accepted Abel's gift instead of Cain's, and Cain killed his brother. So, oh yeah, well no, I almost called you brunette. That's why. So, for this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous, right? So you have to understand that preaching this, the minute you open your mouth about it, you're done, right? That's you trading everything. That's you saying, I'm going to do this. And the trick here, the key to the whole thing is to do it right. And I want to show you how that works. I want to show you how to get somebody across the finish line. I want to show you how to walk somebody through it. I want to show you every reason as to why I am the way that I am. I want to show you the cost of it, what it's going to cost you. You need to understand that before you get into this. If you say you want to be a believer, you better fucking mean it. You have to mean it, because if you say, I believe you, God, and then you don't do, James chapter 1, verse 22 tells you crystal clear that to be a doer and not a hearer only, you have to line up with the book. You have to be a faithful witness. It's what a believer does. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. Right there, boom. Be you a doer of the word and not a hearer only, deceiving your own selves. You have to be a doer of it. It's not just pick it up and then shortchange everybody and never read and never figure it out. It's not pick it up, try it out, put it down, and then you're good to go. Just because you say you can't sin doesn't mean that you're saved. It's just it. That's it. The Bible specifically says, study to show yourself approved. Study to show yourself approved. And for me to explain this to you, I know I try and just show everybody the Bible study, right? That's my thing, is if I can get you through the Bible study, the rest of it, I mean, and that's the hardest part, converting somebody, believe it or not, converting somebody, fully cleaning them out and getting them through it. That's actually the easy part. Getting the follow-up is the hardest. That's, getting them to read, getting them to do it, getting them to preach it, getting them to risk something for it, right? That's the hardest part, is getting them to actually be believers. That's the hardest part. And so I want to be able to cover everything with you guys. I'm going to go very in-depth. I'll show you why I do it the way I do it, how I got to this point. And hopefully this will just help you. Hopefully you'll take from it what you need to. I hope you brought pen, paper, Bible. I hope you stick with me through this little series. A lot of people, they come and go. I know the people that stay. I know the people that roll with me. I know the people, right? I'm not stupid. I'm just not stupid. A lot of people think I am. I'm just not. But I do hope this helps you in every which way possible. I hope this is very edifying. I hope you take the time, right? I hope you take the time. In fact, I'm going to switch up where we were going to start. So before we even start step one. Yeah, I don't care. Lauren still serves sin, Evelyn. That's the problem with her. She still serves sin. She still hasn't gotten over it. What is there to get over? She's not the one that got stood up for the Bible study. She's not the one that she didn't offer me $100, right? She didn't offer me a new Bible. She didn't offer me to go on her channel. No, that was all me doing for her, me taking time out of my day away from my family to try and show her the truth. And she chooses to serve sin. I can't help her with that. She chose. She walked away. It's not my problem. And lessons, everybody. Lessons. Listen. One of the hardest things for you to learn throughout this whole thing, one of the hardest things to learn is when to walk away. That's one of the hardest things to learn, because it's hard. It's fucking hard. Because you know the truth, right? You know the fucking truth. So you know that once you reject them, you know it's done for that person, you know. That makes it hard. That's why I always unblock everybody. That's why I try again and again and again and again and again, because you don't want to see somebody go to hell. You don't want that. And as believers, right? So I'm doing this for both. You know, if a sinner's watching this, watch, learn. Maybe you'll learn. If you already know the truth, and you already know that Jesus reconciled all things, then you know that's everything's going on the table with this. So no, Lauren didn't lose anything. There's nothing for her to get over. She needs to get over herself. That's the problem. And every time she sins, she proves who she serves. That's it. Jesus said, John 8:34. Sorry, guys. John 8:34. I have to give him the credit, right? That's what this is every time. John 8:34. Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. He meant what he said. Whoever sins is the servant of sin. That's it. There is no negotiation. There is no, no, none at all. Don't ever accept that shit. Ever. If they want to lie to themselves, fine. But make sure they know they're lying to themselves. That's the fun part. So this is, we're going to get into all this, man. Oh, I'm so excited. I finally get to do the stream with you guys. This is a big deal. This one's a big fucking deal. Oh, I'm excited. You have no idea. So, Luke 17. First, we're going to go to Luke 17. And we're going back to 14 because I want to talk to you about, I really want you guys to understand the people that start this, make sure you finish it. Right here. Luke 17:11. And it came to pass, as he went to Jerusalem, that he passed through the midst of Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered into a certain village, there met him 10 men that were lepers, which stood afar off. And they lifted up their voices and said, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. And when he saw them, he said unto them, Go, show yourselves unto the priest. And it came to pass that as soon as they went, they were cleansed. And one of them, they were cleansed of the leprosy. And one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back and with a loud voice glorified God and fell down on his face at his feet, giving him thanks. And he was a Samaritan. And Jesus answering said, Were there not 10 cleansed, but where are the other 9? Where's the 9? There are not found that return to give glory to God, save this stranger. And he said unto him, Arise, go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. So all 10, only one turned around. Only one. And that's what I'm here to teach to you guys and to encourage you. Be the one. Be the one that turns around and hits your face. Be the one that actually trades it all for it. Be the one. Don't be like the other 9. Don't be the other 9 because they ain't going nowhere. They ain't getting shit. The one turned around. The one he told, thy faith hath made thee whole. The one. Not the 9. He got rid of their leprosy, yeah, but they never turned around and said thank you. That's like the fucking unbelievers, man. The sinners and the people that turn their back on it, the people that fall out, that's what they do. They don't say thanks. They're fucking ungrateful and they hide it. So right here, Luke 14. I want to go over these. Here we go. There's a cost that comes with this. You don't, there's no way. It's a free gift, absolutely. But a real believer is going to trust the word. He's going to trust the book over everything else. A real believer is going to do it right. A faithful witness is going to do it right. That's it. And that's what this is. This is, if these things aren't happening to you, it's because you're not doing something right. It just is what it is. So Luke chapter 14, verse 25, we're going to start there. And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple if you're not willing to tell your family, your friends, if you're not willing to step up to the plate, then you can't be his disciple. You're not a believer. So you got to understand that coming into this. Jesus' words, he wasn't playing. He's not playing. You think he's playing. He's not playing. You're going to get in front of him in the end, and he's going to be like, yo, you had it, and you buried it. Bye. Because that's what he tells the dude in the story. You knew that I was an austere man, reaping where I had not sowed. He's not playing. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. If you ain't willing to bear your cross, if you ain't willing to be uncomfortable and persecuted and spit on and shit on and have the police at your door and get kicked out of here and kicked out of there, if you aren't willing to have people calling you the devil day in and day out, if you aren't willing, then this ain't for you. Then it just ain't for you. You lose your head for it later. Stick around. It doesn't matter. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. If you can't publicly do it, if you can't even do it with your own family, right? And that's the thing too, right here, right? There's these two verses, and what's so unique, and it's like I said, I want to go into great detail about this because I want you to know these two verses are together. These are together. They're together for a reason. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. If you've got a problem with telling somebody that they're of the devil, then you cannot be his disciple. Because Jesus is the one, Jesus is the one that taught these guys, like John. Where's I going here from here? Ooh, I'm trying to remember where I was going from here. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. I don't even really need to, it's just self-explanatory. If you're not willing to bear your cross, you cannot be his disciple. Oh, that's where I was going. The family thing. The family thing is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. It's the first thing I get somebody to do. After I convert somebody, that's the first thing I want to see out of them is see them preach it to their family. That's the first thing. And done right. Done right without hiding shit, without being a pussy about it, without shortchanging them, right? Because 1 Timothy 5:8 says, but if any man provide not for his own, and specially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. If you know the truth and you won't tell your family, you're worse than an unbeliever. The Bible says so. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. And if any come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. And the reason we're going over this is because the things that I'm about to teach you and show you are what are going to cause you to bear that cross. Right? You guys, anybody here can ask Jason what the cost is. Ask Jason Polak. He's in the comments somewhere. This is him. Ask him what the cost is. Ask him what it's costed him. You guys all know my story, right? You guys know my story. You know what it cost me. Cost us our house, cost us family, cost me all my friends, everything gone out the fucking window. I just showed you that today YouTube came after my channel. I've never even had a strike. We don't bully anybody. We don't judge anybody. I don't condemn anybody. We don't nothing. I go by the Bible and the Bible only. If you won't listen to it, then that's your fucking problem. You're going to say, oh, he says the word fuck. Okay, so then now every content creator has to come down. I'm not monetized, not anything. Why did they come after my channel? Why? Why is somebody coming after my channel? Because of hatred. You got to bear your cross. It's part of it. Without it, you're not a believer. Acts chapter 14, verse 22 tells you, it's one of my favorite verses. It goes with Luke 14. We're going to do a lot in Luke before I even begin teaching you this shit. I'm not going to cast my pearls before swine. I promise you that. And we'll get into all that later too. Acts 14:33. Right here. He says, or not 14:22. 33 is Luke 14. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of God. Through much tribulation. If you say you're a believer, but you don't have any stress, you don't have anybody, you're not losing any friends, your family isn't your enemies. If the things that Jesus said would happen to you aren't happening to you, it's because you're not a believer. And it may make some of you feel very uncomfortable. Some of you may not like that. I don't give a fuck. My accountability is to the book, not to you. And my accountability to you is me being accountable to the book. Have to be, because it's required in stewards that a man be found faithful. It's required and faithful to the book. And if you're faithful to the book, you're going to listen to the book. You're going to go by the book. You're not going to turn your back on the book. You're not going to turn your back on the person that converts you. You're not going to turn your back on the people that you need to tell the truth to. You're going to tell them the fucking truth. And you're going to do it. You're going to do it in full. You're not going to sugarcoat shit. You're not going to hide nothing. You're not going to shortchange them. You're going to tell them like it is, because that's love. That's love. That's love. If you won't tell somebody that because they sin, they're of the devil, then you don't love that person. You don't love that person because you're not telling them the truth. And that is the truth. So what we're doing right here is this part. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? That's what I'm doing with you right now, to go over these verses, to count the cost with you and show you, right, that it's not just me. There's other people. I'm showing you the cost. If you can't handle that, it's not for you. Because that's what you're going to be met with. If you come to me and say, Perry, I want to know the truth. I want you to show me this. I want to do the Bible study with you. That's going to be the outcome. Lest happily, after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him. And I've seen this happen to a lot of people. They didn't count the cost. They said, oh yeah, I'll believe that. But then when shit got hard, they can't do it. They can't do it because they don't actually believe it. Verse 30, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish it. Or what king going to war against another king? Look at how Jesus compares this to war, right? There's a verse that says, be a good soldier of Jesus Christ. I had an idiot complain to me this week. He's like, oh, it's always like Bible boot camp with you. Yeah, because I'm a good soldier of Jesus Christ. Bible boot camp. I'm a good soldier of Jesus Christ. That's what it is. If you can't handle the heat, get the fuck out the kitchen. Saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going to war against another king sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000. Look at the description that Jesus has given you for what this is. You're sitting down. You're outnumbered by way more than double. You have to count the cost. You're going to war, right? That's what this is. It's a spiritual warfare. They have to line up with the book. If you're going to preach it and then they refuse to line up, you can't waste your time with those people. Or else while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desireth conditions of peace. So likewise, whosoever he be of you. Now this is the Luke 14:33 right here. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. It's forsaking everything. Everything. I sit here a married man with a bunch of children, but if it was between ministry and Bible or family, every one of you knows the answer to that. Every one of you knows it because you see it in me. You see what we do. You see how we've done it. We've lost house. We've lost everything. It's trading all. It's being willing to trade all. You never fucking bow to sinners. Ever. Under any circumstance. Jesus didn't bow. He didn't say shit. The only thing he did say was when Pilate said, "Are you the Son of God?" He said, "I am who you say I am what you say I am." Or I forgot how he put it. You said it, or he's like, "You said it. You say I am." Jesus didn't bow. He took it to the cross. Took it to the cross. He was obedient to the cross. He didn't bow to sinners. He didn't stop arguing it. He didn't turn his back on the disciples either. They turned their backs on him, though. That's the one benefit I think we have that they didn't have, because they didn't really know until they saw the body risen. They didn't know. We know. You can't bow to sinners, man. You bow out to a sinner, you bowed out. You're done. And that's the next verse. Salt is good, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is neither fit for the land nor yet for the dunghill, but men cast it out. He that hath ears, let him. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. You lose salt with us, you gone. We don't play. You can't shortchange people. And most importantly, that is most important. It's at the same token, you can't shortchange yourself, right? Don't shortchange yourself. So what I'm telling you is, if you're going to stick around and you're going to learn this, take it seriously. Take it seriously. Because it is that serious. A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. Do I have it? Ooh. That's Proverbs chapter 1. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 14. There it is. A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. A false witness will hide verses to not tell people. A false witness will try to avoid confrontation. A false witness will not risk anything. And I'm telling you guys these things so that when you convert somebody and 3 weeks, a month down the road, you start noticing they don't read, they're not into it, they won't tell anybody, and then they look at you and tell you they're a believer. They are not. They will stab you in the fucking back. Get the fuck up. Walk away. Walk away. If they won't lift a hand to feed themselves, they won't feed anybody else either. And the Bible says that man, extricate that motherfucker, stay away from him. Yet, what is it? Not as a brother. Admonish him as a brother and treat him not as an enemy. Because, if it ever clicks, they come back. They get their shit together. It's, I think it's still 1 Timothy chapter 5. Hang on. I love this right here. I charge thee before God and the Lord Jesus Christ and the elect angels that thou observe these things without preferring one before another, doing nothing by partiality. True shit. This is a big one. Lay hands suddenly on no man, neither be partaker of other men's sins. Keep thyself pure. Don't be hanging out with sinners. Don't do it. Don't do it. Unless it's to preach to them, don't fucking do it. And if you're going to do it, don't open your mouth. Don't say you're a believer. Don't nothing. Because the minute you open your mouth, you're accountable. Don't do it. It's not the verses I'm looking for, though. I'm looking for. Eat his own bread. I know, working on it all, but busy bodies. 2 Thessalonians 3:11. It's very important that we go over all this beforehand because you need to count the cost. You need to count the cost. I'm telling you, this is what it is. You guys have all watched me go through this for 4 years, over and over and over and over and over. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you that if any would not work, neither should he eat. This isn't talking about building tents or fucking making money. It's not about money. This is talking about the book. This is talking about preaching, the ministry. This is talking about the ministry. For we hear that there are some that walk, which, hey, no, ma'am. Oh, I love him. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. These are the people that won't preach. They won't preach, they won't risk anything, but they won't do anything with it. They bury it. Now them that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Jesus Christ, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. And he divides. There's a division here. But you, brethren, be not weary in well doing. So there's a divide there. If they won't work, they're not doing anything with it, they buried it. They're with quietness they work and eat their own bread. Leave them be. Right here. And if any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man and have no company with him, that he may be ashamed. Yet count him not as an enemy, but admonish him as a brother. This is it right here. Everything that I'm telling you comes from Scripture. I want you guys to know that as we go into this too. If at any time you hear me say something and you want me to verify it with Scripture, I will. 1,000%. I have no problem with that. Because I know I study to show myself approved, and so now I'm going to try and pass this on to you guys. I love y'all very much. You have no idea. Even the fucking unbelievers, even the haters, we need them too. They're what prove it. You know, you got to remember that too. If you don't have any haters, that was another thing Jesus said. Just so you know, if you go to a YouTube channel and all their comments are amen, 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 they're full of shit. Right here. If you don't have any haters, you're false. Right here. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. Right there. But woe unto you that are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe unto you that are full, for you shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. So I want you guys to understand as we go into this, count the cost. Count the cost. If you sit down and you say, okay, I'm going to be a believer, you better fucking mean it. Because in the end, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. It's not I'll get around to it when I have time. No, you make time. You do it because you have to. If you say you believe, it's not a problem to do that. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. And that's what it is. Faithful to the book. Got to line up with the book. You see this guy in the chat here? I haven't talked about it. I'll pull it up. This guy in the chat here, he don't listen. He don't listen to shit at all. And he hides verses from people. He won't do his job, won't do nothing with it. And then he's been complaining to me and Tim V for the last, week, harassing us constantly. I had to block him. He won't even lift his own fucking hand to feed himself. And there's nothing I can do to help that person at all whatsoever. At all. He just went left. Want to do it his way. So, all this being said, count the fucking cost. Make sure you know what you're signing up for. Because real faith, Jesus wasn't playing, man. He was not playing on any level at all. I cannot stress that enough. And then we'll start getting into what we're going to get into tonight. Hang on. I want to do Matthew 10 real quick before we do this. This is serious. This is so serious, man. I can't stress this enough. I cannot stress this enough. We'll start here. Here we go. Sure. Fear them not, therefore. Oh, fuck it. Let's just do Matthew 10. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out, and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these: the first Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the publican, James the son of Alphaeus, and Labius, whose surname was Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely you have received, freely give. Provide neither gold, nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves, not even shoes. For the workman is worthy of his meat. And into whatsoever city or town you shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till you go thence. And when you come into a house, salute it. And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. And if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. You can do this now. Actually, this actually still works. Still works to this day. And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. How do you be wise? Know the book. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And you shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, and judges and police and DCFS, and fucking the list goes on. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what you shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. Why? Because you'll be speaking Bible verses. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. There's that key. You can't kill yourself. There's no suicide in this. You don't get to quit. You have to endure to the end. Obedient. But whether they persecute you in this city, flee you into another. For verily I say unto you, you shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? If they call Jesus the devil, they're going to call you the devil. It's that simple. If they're not, you're not doing something right. Fear them not, therefore. This right here, huge thing. Huge thing. You can't be afraid of people. You can't be afraid to open your mouth. You can't be afraid to tell somebody the truth. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light. And what you hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. What's it say? What you hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. This is where Jesus tells you. He's telling you, don't fear people, fear God. Right? If you still fear people, you're not made perfect. If you're afraid of confrontation, you're not perfect. That's just the breaks. Sorry to break it to you. Right here. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. If you're afraid to tell your family, if you're afraid to tell your friends, if you're afraid to post it on Facebook, if you're afraid to be friends with the real believers on your Facebook page, it's because you're not a fucking believer. Can't be afraid. Fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? One of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. Not even a bird hits the ground without God knowing about it. Not even a bird. He's in control of everything. You have to trust him. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not, therefore you are of more value than many sparrows. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. Confessing Jesus is literally walking around telling everybody he made you perfect. It's all credit to him, all glory to him. Going around telling everybody, hey, if you sin, you're of the devil. Or Jesus did it real slick, like he told them, go and sin no more. Why? Why did he tell people to go and sin no more? Because if you still sin, you're of the devil. That's why he told them, go and sin no more. Don't sin. If you sin, you're of the devil. If you sin, you're the servant of sin. And Jesus said that. That's what he told people. He yelled it at the Pharisees. If you won't show them that, then you're ashamed of his words. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Hiding verses from people to avoid confrontation is the same as denying Christ. You're being afraid. You're more afraid of them than you are of God. You don't fear God, you fear man. You're worried about their opinion of you instead of his opinion. Mark chapter 8, verse. I love this. I've used this a few times in the last week. This has been a crazy fucking week. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. And then I woke up and had the fucking YouTube channel thing. Whew. It's cool, though. Do the right things, there ain't shit they can do. Right? Right. Mark 8:38. Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and my words. And look at, he says his words, right? John 8:34. Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. If you won't show somebody that because you're afraid, then you're ashamed of his words. Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father, when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. That's it. Matthew's not joking, man. And what did Jesus say here? He said, think not that I am come to send peace on oof. Choking on my spit. Right here. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. He didn't come to send peace. He came to bring a sword. This is a sword. This is not a butter knife. This is not a fucking baby cradle. This is not it's not a spoon, right? It's a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. This book destroys families. Once somebody in the household figures it out, there's going to be a split. How you handle it is going to be the difference between what makes or breaks you as a family. Not necessarily, I mean, as a family and as a believer, because he did tell you, if any man come to me and hate not his mother, where is it? Read it? Luke 14, 2, right here. 14:26. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me, he cannot be my disciple. For which of you intending to build a tower sits not down first to count the cost? You're counting the cost. That's what we're doing here. 49 minutes of it. Awesome. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He that loveth, look at, and here's the same thing. Matthew 10, just tie it to Luke 14. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it. And he that loses his life for my sake shall find it. If you're trying to stay comfortable, you're done. You don't believe. It's just not going to happen. There's no such thing as comfort as a believer. Like, we're at peace, full joy. I fucking trust him in everything. Perfect. I wake up knowing I'm perfect. I go to bed knowing I'm perfect. I have a perfect fucking marriage, perfect fucking household. Even on the bad days, it's still perfect. But I'm willing to lose it all. And we have multiple times. He that findeth his life shall lose it. He that loses his life for my sake shall find it. And you preach it. You preach it. And you run that risk. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward, and he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whosoever shall give to drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. So going into this, sorry this was so long. Not really, I'm not. Because I told you I want to go in detail. Right? If you're going to do this, you got to do it right. And you got to count the cost. You say you're a believer. You say you fucking believe in his book. You say you believe in his word. Prove it. Fucking prove it. And it's going to cost. The gift's free. But the fallout is fucking insane. It's fucking insane. You can't be afraid of people. And it starts at home. It starts at home. And that's why that verse is there. That's why that 1 Timothy verse is there. Because it starts at home. And that's why I said, if they won't even do it for their own family, if they won't even preach to their own family, if they're hiding verses from their own family, they're worse than a fucking unbeliever. Get rid of them. Shake them off. Cut the bad fruit off of the tree. Adios. So, all that being said, we're going to start now. I'm very excited to do this with you guys. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history on how I learned how to do this, why I am the way that I am, and why this is the only way that it works. It's the only fucking way that it works. Who's all still with me? Brunette, you still here? Shirley, you still here? Evelyn, you still here? Bush, you still here? Who's all here? And this can be kind of interactive. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping you guys will take part in this from the chat. Comments will go up on the screen. Anybody that wants to join, you're more than welcome to. I'm actually looking for somebody to that can do a role play thing with me. If I've got anybody here that'll be, up for that. Okay, Shirley's here, Brunette's here. Cool. Okay, so if you're up for that, I would appreciate it. Don't really need it, but would appreciate it. Would make life a lot easier, and would I don't know, maybe iron sharpens iron, and there's that too, right? There's that too. Understand this. If the shit that I'm telling you offends you, I don't care, right? Iron sharpens iron, and it's not a pleasant process. It's not a pleasant process at all. Iron sharpeneth iron. Proverbs 27:17. Okay. I knew that one wasn't in 14. Somebody that'll role play with me a little bit on certain things. I mean, pretty much you just be sitting up here listening, same thing you're doing fucking now, but just role play on a few things. So Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17, right? Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Like, I'm not here to hurt you. Yeah, it's Bible boot camp with me. That's no lie. Anybody that knows me knows that I am an asshole. But that's the way it has to be. If I wasn't, then I wouldn't be a faithful witness. It has to be that way, because that's it. That's it. Whoso keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof. So he that waiteth on his master shall be honored. I like it. If I got to keep the fig tree, right? It's got to bear fruit, or else. I mean, that's the outcome. You don't have to, Jason, but I mean, when the time comes, I'll let you know when the time comes, because it's going to be a little bit. So, something about me that I don't talk about much, and most everybody knows, And the people that are in this field, all you guys know, and a lot of this you've already seen, sort of, kind of. My history, right? I was a lot of things in life. My favorite thing was a car salesman, not used cars. I wasn't on the dirt lot with the fucking hamburger meat hanging out. No, new suits, ties, new cars. Always had a brand new car. Always had all the money. I mean, anything I fucking wanted, I could have bought. I could have had it all. I could have fucking. Women were my downfall. So 11 years, right? 11 years in the car business. I worked at some of the biggest dealerships in Illinois. And I worked on what's called the Mile of Cars in Libertyville, Illinois. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest strip of car dealerships in the world. And I did cars for 11 years, and it was every day. It's like 60 hours a week, every day, all day. We get Sundays off, right? I usually ended up having to go to work on my days off to close up deals and wrap up paperwork and do whatever. Financial industry, sales. I mean, it was sales. And if you think that this isn't sales, you're out your mind. The gospel is very much so being a preacher, preaching the gospel is absolutely it is sales. And that's how I learned how to do this. I have in front of me, I was very irresponsible, very young when I did that. I think I quit. I mean, I was responsible at McHugh when I met my wife, but outside of that, it was very hard for me to keep track of everything because the decisions I made in life, I usually ended up losing everything and going to jail. Then I'd have to get out and start all over. So I don't have very many of them, but I do have in front of me the stack of commission slips from, this is 3 different dealerships, but it's only a fraction of them just to show I do have the receipts for everything. I was in sales for a total of 11 years, or I was in cars for 11 years. I did door-to-door vacuums before that. I did Kirby sales before that. And while I was selling cars and in between, I did the door-to-door newspaper subscription sales, which was something else, man. But I mean, I made great money. No matter what kind of sales I got myself into, I made great money in it. I was always a very good salesman. And that's just that. That's where my history comes from in this. That is the same process that I take people through when it comes to the Bible. It is no different. Everybody that is watching this, that has been converted by this ministry, that has been taught by me in any way, shape, or form, you have gone through that sales process. And it may not seem like it, but you did. And we're going to go through, that's what we're going to go through. And you can look this up. You can look all this shit up for yourself. You can figure it out for yourself. It's 10 steps. It's 10 steps, right? 10 steps to the sale. And that's what we're going to go through. So I hope you brought a pen and paper. I'm going to walk you through them and give examples of each, verses for each. And I mean, the process is just the process. It doesn't work any other way. I've tried. I tried being nice, right? There is a verse, some make a difference. Some have compassion, making a difference. Others save with fear, pulling them, hating even the garment that's spotted by the flesh. This is actual. It is actually. So it's not always an asshole. And everybody that knows, you guys all know me, I'm not always an asshole. Even with people that are just learning. Even with somebody that I'm going through the Bible study with, I'm not always an asshole. I mean, you have to earn that. Where is it? Some having passion. So I get it. Others save with fear. Why is it not coming up? Others fear, Jude 1:23. Yeah, Jude. Show you what? What do you want to see? Jude 1:23. Right here. And of some have compassion, making a difference, and others save with fear, pulling them out of the fire, hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. That's the Bible. I mean, it's showing you, right? Jesus said, I came not to bring peace, but a sword. And that's That's the hardest part, I think, for people to understand, is that this isn't about, I mean, it says, Jesus does say, the Bible says, if try to be at peace with all men. Absolutely. But the reality is that he didn't come to bring peace. He came to bring a sword, and that's never going to happen. You're going to piss off everybody around you if you do this right. That's why he says you will be hated by all men for my name's sake. So it's very, very important. What do you want to see, Nerf? Show you what? I just did. I showed you. Here's all the commission slips. This is all Raymond Chevrolet. And this isn't even a fucking fraction of them. This is just what I recovered after getting out of county and losing everything. And I sold cars for 11 years. So, I mean, that's how I learned how to deal with people. I wish I knew what I know now. I wish I would have had my career. Well, I mean, I still could go back. And we're talking about it, actually. It's very likely that that's what's going to happen. I'm probably going to go back to cars next year, which, oh, man. That's going to be good. That's going to be awesome. Tons of commission, man. Tons and tons and tons. Yeah. So you can see it's a commission slip. And there's just tons of them. Perry Green. You can see it right there. Salesperson. Perry Green. Oh, the verses? Which verse? For what? Right here. And some have compassion, making a difference, and others save with fear, pulling them out of the fire, hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, you're filled with hate. No, not at all. Not by any means. I just know what it takes to get somebody to break. I know how to break them. I know how to walk them through the process. I know how to do that with somebody. And that's what I'm doing these shows for, this little series that we just started. That's what I'm doing all these for. That's what I'm doing all these for, is to show you how to do that with somebody, how to do that to somebody, and I mean, at the same token, you're just going to find out as you do this, you're going to find out it's real. You're going to find out it's more real than anything you've ever dealt with in your life. This is life or death, and it's real. I mean, there's no, I don't know how else to put that to you. I mean, it's fucking real. Like, it's as real as it gets. And if you care about people, that's the charity that the Bible talks about, then that's what you're going to do. You go to any lengths to get somebody saved if you care about them. If you love somebody, you die for them. And that's what Jesus said, man. That's exactly what Jesus said. If you love somebody, you'd be willing to die for them. And that's what it is. I mean, it just is what it is. There's no way around the truth. The truth is the truth, no matter how much they don't like it. So basically, the way this works, step 1, okay? There's 10 steps. And you're not going to have the list next to you when you're talking to somebody. You're not going to have your list next to you going, okay, I did the introduction. Now we got to move on to common ground and discovery. You're not going to have that. You need to take the time to learn it, or at least remember the process. It's just a pattern. It's not set in stone. You can mold it and shape it to whatever you want, right? You are you. You're not going to be me. You're not going to go about it the same way I'm going to go about it. But there's 2 things you don't want to change. There's 2 things that don't change. How you start and how you finish, right? Those 2 things can't change, because that's the starting point and the finish line. You have to have one of each. So before we even get into that, you need to understand that every time you talk to somebody about this, you have to keep that finish line in mind, right? As you're going through it. The things that come out of your mouth, how they come out of your mouth, what you do is all going to play a part in them getting across that finish line. And the truth is, right, we don't matter. The Bible says, he that watereth is nothing, and he that planteth is nothing, and he that watereth is nothing. But still, Proverbs 14, a faithful witness will not lie. A false witness will utter lies. So there's clearly, you see this, and then you see the verse in Jude. Clearly, there is there is a starting point and there is a finishing point. There is a such thing as converting somebody. James chapter 5 verse 22. Or yeah, is it James 5:20? It's James 5:20 and 21. Right here. Right here. Brethren, if any of you, 19 and 20, my bad. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth and one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins. Let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins. That is your end game, is to get a full conversion, to completely clean somebody out of all the illusions and baggage and lies they've been carrying their entire life. That is what you have to do, right? That's it. Now, the truth is, if God doesn't want them converted, they'll never convert. There'd be nothing you can do. That's why the Bible says after 2 times, fucking give up. Proverbs 14, verse 7 tells you, go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. When they start on their rambling bullshit and they're not making any points and they can't take direction, they can't understand what you're showing them, what you're telling them, then at that point, it's null and void. Walk the fuck away. Don't be afraid to tell somebody. In fact, that's one of the biggest things, right? Don't be afraid to look somebody in the face and say, you know what, fuck you. You choose to serve sin? Adios. Don't be afraid of that, because that in itself is scripture, right? I'll show you. Hang on. It's taking longer to get started. But I really did want to go over all that with you guys about counting the cost, what the cost is, what it's going to cause in your life, the problems that are going to arise. And it's part of it, man. It's all part of it. Without that, you don't have shit. Philippians 1:28, right here. And in nothing terrified by your adversaries, which is to them an evident token of perdition, but to you of salvation of God. This right here, which is to them an evident token of perdition. Rejection. Okay, when somebody just won't listen, they won't get it, they don't fucking, it's not registering to them. They can't put 2 and 2 together. And it's not that they can't, it's they refuse. You guys all saw fucking Jake the Snake up here the other night. He couldn't, just flat fucking refuses to listen to anything anybody tells him. The rejection is the evident token of their perdition. It's to them, that is when they go, holy fuck. Okay. And it's a little more than that, because the rejection proves that you know what you're talking about, right? It's a big thing. It's a huge fucking deal, right? No heathen building, no church on any corner, when you just walk through the doors and you talk to the preacher, none of them are going to tell you to get the fuck out, because they all want you to put the money on the plate. They all want to pretend they're self-righteous. They're going to include you and give you hugs, and they're all going to talk well to you. None of them are going to reject you. So at the end of the day, that evident token of perdition, when you say, okay, you choose to serve sin then, motherfucker. We're done. To them, that is the evident token of perdition. That's how they know they're fucked. That's how you drill it into their head, because it's just part of it. It really is. Titus chapter 3, verse 10 and 11. Right here. A man that is a heretic, after the first and second admonition, reject, knowing that he that is such is subverted, which means ruined. That's the actual definition of subverted. It means ruined. Knowing that he that is such is subverted and sinneth, being condemned of himself. They condemn themselves. We know it's not their fault. They don't know. Yeah, whatever you say, like you would fucking know, buddy. You don't know shit. You still serve sin. Go serve sin. Why are you here? You emailed me. You said you were done. Go away. Move on. You don't listen. See, and this is what it is. And he can't accept rejection. He can't take it. He can't take it, so he keeps coming back over and over and over. He comes back under multiple different accounts over and over and over and over and over, over and over, and he just keeps serving sin over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and he can't stop. He literally has to keep making accounts. Watch, Burnett, ban him. Get rid of him. Banned. Ban that account. Watch. You have to, the rejection is part of it. If they won't listen, fuck them. But we're not even there yet, right? Let's get into step one. So step one, and this is the same process that I do with everybody. It is the same exact fucking thing. And if you think the Bible's not sales, if you think it's not, you're dead ass wrong. Dead ass wrong. And I'm going to show you right here. Good, he's gone. Okay. Isaiah 50. 3 years that guy's been fucking harassing me. Won't stop. Won't leave us alone. Multiple different accounts. That's why you can ask Burnett, ask anybody in here, anybody that's watching this. You think I'm lying? I'm telling you the truth. I'm not just being an asshole to him to be an asshole. I'm being an. I mean, it's time. He's got to go. All right, Isaiah 55 verse 1. I'm going to show you two verses. You think it's not sales? It absolutely is. Absolutely is. Only it's not that we're selling something, because I don't want anything from you in return. If anything, we give you things. We'll pay you to go through the Bible study. I'll give you a fucking gorgeous Bible if you can make it through the study. But don't think that it's not sales, because it says so right here. Isaiah 55 verse 1. Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye, buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. To buy something, what does it first have to be? If I go to the store and I see toothpaste on the shelf and I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy that. How can I buy it? How do you buy it if it's not for sale? Right? So you can't tell me that this isn't sales. And if you go to Revelation chapter 3, verse 17, and then once we get into this, oh my, you guys, once you realize it, you're going to be like, holy shit. Revelation chapter 3, verse 18, sorry. He says right here, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire. To do what? To buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. I use this with sinners all the time. I use these two verses. Revelation 3:17. Because thou sayest, this is when you got somebody that still sins, like this guy, this Decepticon. When you got somebody that still sins and they won't accept it, right here, verse 17 is about them. It says, because thou sayest, I am rich and increased with goods, and have need of nothing. Right? That's what the sinners who claim to be believers, they think they're believers. They've deceived themselves into thinking they believe, even though they still serve sin. Right? That's what they do. They won't listen. They're like, oh, I don't need that. I don't need to listen. Preacher, you're just preaching false. You bullshit. Blah, 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 blah. You just say the same verse 6 fucking times. I'm going to explain that later too. So Revelation chapter 3, verse 17 says, because thou sayest, I am rich and increased with goods and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. That's what a sinner is. Wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. They think they have it all figured out. They think they're saved. They think they're going to be okay. But in reality, they're wretched, poor, blind, miserable, and naked. And they're ashamed of their nakedness on top of that. Then they walk around depressed and angry all day. We've got one lady, not going to talk about who or what, one lady completely destroying her entire fucking family just to avoid a Bible verse. Just to avoid the Bible study. Just to avoid that. Cost somebody that we know very much, that we love very much, cost them $30,000 in the last 2 months. $30,000. Just to avoid the Bible study. Destroying her whole family, destroying her children. Just to avoid, because she thinks that she's rich and increased with goods and has need of nothing. And she's running from the Bible study. And she's destroying her family in the process. She's wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. I tell you in truth. What does Jesus say, though? What does the Bible say? It says, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire. In order to buy something, it has to be for sale. And it's a free gift that costs nothing. That's the beauty about salvation. It's the beauty about preach. That's the beauty about preaching grace, is that it is free. It costs them nothing. Yet it will cost them everything. It's weird. You're trading all. You're bearing a cross. It costs you nothing. But I mean, fucking holy shit! It's just worth everything. There's no way. Can you guys hear me and see me okay? Or is it just Jaden? Mr. Freeman? So it says, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire. If you think preaching the gospel is anything but sales, you'd be sadly mistaken. It is exactly what it is. You have to be able to convince the naysayers. Okay. Am I skipping and doing all the glitchy crap? I'll get rid of the Facebook tab. That might help. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Guy's an idiot. I got a short on here about that. You should check that out. It's good. William, we're very, I don't know if you know this channel at all. I don't know if you've ever been here or you know what the deal is. If you saw the debate with me and Jill, then you know what the deal is. Welcome to the channel. Small glitches. Okay. Well, buffering on your end. I don't know what to do. I can't help it. I closed out. Oh, wait. You know what? I might. Hang on. Exit that one. Exit this one. Exit this one. Exit this one. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. Anyway, Revelation chapter 3, verse 18, he says, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire. The only way to buy something is it has to be for sale. That's it. So if you think that preaching the gospel is not sales, you're sadly mistaken. It is absolutely sales, and it can and needs to be a specific set process. How you do it, I don't care, right? As long as you're personable, you're going to do just fine. But it is what it is. Well, trying to figure it out, Jaden. But it is, it just is what it is. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Well, this isn't so much the good news, William. If you would like to do the good news, there's a link in the description to a Bible study called Never Sin Again. Go do that Bible study. Then come back and do these. This is me teaching people how to do it. It's all going to kind of come up anyway in it if you want to stick around, but it's not really fair to you to do that here, and it's not fair to them. So there is the Bible study. That's the links in the description. It's called Salvation Assurance, Never Sin Again. Just pay attention. Look up the verses yourself, man. Prove my work. Prove my work. That's what I'm going to tell you. Prove my work. Prove me wrong. Try to prove me wrong. Pay attention like that. It's like that. The Bible does not lie, sir. So be well. Yes, yes. Cool. See? Why can't everybody be like that? Just go do the Never Sin Again study. When you finish, and if you're still here, when you finish, come back and see me. Don't be weak. Don't quit halfway through it. Do it. Finish it. Make sure you pay attention from start to finish. And at the end, we'll talk. I've got no problem with that. I would love that. Do it that way. And ignore the comments that are on there because it's a lot of hatred. A lot of hatred. But, you can't ignore that. And that's how you prove that it's real. There's so many people that hate us. That's how you prove it's real. So, Revelation chapter 3, verse 18, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, that there be no shame in the nakedness. None. Zero. You're not supposed to have the knowledge of good and evil. You're never supposed to eat off that tree. We were never supposed to eat off that tree to begin with. Jesus died to forgive you for all the times that you ate off of that tree. Stop eating off of that tree and just be perfect. It's okay, Brunette. It is what it is. And that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. So, yes, preaching the gospel is absolutely sales. And before we actually open step 1, I've got one more verse. It's Romans chapter 10. Right here. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? So the people around you in your life, yes, they've all had Bibles in front of them their entire lives. There's heathen buildings on every single corner that are filled with sinners waiting to tell them that Jesus died for them. But they've gone to these heathen buildings their whole lives, and the heathen buildings, they have not given them the truth. They have only kept them in sin. So they're still doing the sin, repent, repeat, sin, repent, repeat, sin, repent, repeat thing. The only way the only chance they have of getting out of that is you. The only chance they have at getting out of the sin, repent, repeat cycle is you. And that's where we come in. That's where this comes in. And that's why it is so imperative that you understand the cost, that you understand the weight of it. We have been put in trust with the gospel. Oh, yeah, I can't leave that out either. Put in trust with the gospel. Even so, we speak not as pleasing men, but God, which trieth our hearts. 1 Thessalonians 2:4. Right here. But as we were allowed of God to be put in trust with the gospel, even so we speak not as pleasing men, but God, which trieth our hearts. Now, I also like this because right under here, he tells you, for neither at any time used we flattering words. As you know, nor a cloak of covetousness, God is witness. We don't use flattering words. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to tell you the truth. It's going to be the same for you guys anytime that you're dealing with anybody else. You're not there to make them feel good. The truth does not feel good. The truth hurts. Like Romans chapter 6, he talks about the old man is crucified, right? That's what our job is. That's what a preacher's job is. If you're going to convert somebody, that's what your job is to crucify the old man, right? And then bring him back to life. It's a spiritual rebirth. That's what being reborn is. You go from being a sinner to being perfect. You go from years and years and years of baggage and illusions and fake experiences and deception to perfection. It's not a comfortable process. It takes a few hours. The follow-up takes months. There's only like a handful of people that I've done this with that I would feel comfortable saying I trust that they believe. There's only a handful. Do you know how scary that is for me? I mean, and that's the truth. There's many more children of the desolate than he that hath a husband. It's Galatians. It's a true statement. So going into this, I hope all this build up helps you understand the cost, the importance, the verity, the level of responsibility that comes with this, because everything that comes out of your mouth to somebody about the gospel, you're going to stand in front of Jesus and he's going to be like, yo, boom, 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 boom. You hit this verse. How come you didn't tell this person? Why didn't you? Every idle word that comes out of a man's mouth. Every word. So you want to make sure you do it right. That is what I'm telling you. That is what I'm telling you. You want to understand the cost. You want to understand the risks. And if that's what you're here for, if that's what you want, if you want to be a believer, then this is for you. So, what was I doing with Galatians? Yes. Hang on. Children of the desolate. Galatians 4:27. Right here. Isaiah 54's got it too. So right here, just so you're aware. For it is written, rejoice, thou barren that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate hath many more children than she which hath a husband. We are outnumbered in the billions. In the billions. That's the reality. We're outnumbered in the billions. There's only 144,000 that will be redeemed. That's it. So if you're one of those, awesome. As I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter of if God doesn't want them converted. There's no amount of fucking tricks and tips that I could show you that will do that for you. All I can do is explain to you that the Bible says, "Do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry," and that's all I'm going to show you is how to hopefully make you more of an effective. Where is it? That's not the one. 2 Timothy, chapter 3. Might be 2. I think it's 2. Let me see. No. Where is it? Timothy chapter 4. All right. Hang on a second. Right here. He says, "But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, and make full proof of thy ministry." Full proof. I can't define that for you. All I can say is full proof. If you ask me for proof of my ministry, I've got videos of police coming to my house to try and evict my family for Bible verses. I've got miles of court papers, all having to do with this. We've got false report after false report after false report. I've got fucking the pictures that I even started this showing you. YouTube down my channel today. They took down my whole entire channel for nothing. I've never violated their guidelines, not once, and that happened. So the hatred, I could show you all day long. The ministry's there. My ministry's there. Make full proof of your ministry. I can't define that for you. All I can say is that if you tell me you're a believer and you're doing it, and I say, hey, show me your ministry, you got to figure out how you're going to do that. And I can't tell you how to do that. I can just say that do it. Absolutely do it. Do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. And my goal with this is to help make you effective at doing the ministry, effective at evangelizing. That's the word, right? To make you an effective evangelist. And that's it. To the best of your ability, the best of my ability. That's all we can do. And I mean, that's really it. So it is absolutely sales. It is absolutely sales. And I mean, you can already see from Revelation and Isaiah, and it's all over. It's all over the book. Right? He's always talking about buy from me because it's free. It costs nothing. So to everybody that's got a pen and paper, step 1, introduction. Right? This could be a lot of different things. Really, introduction. Step 1 involves finding somebody to talk to begin with. That's hey, babies, please. So, it involves finding somebody to begin with. How you introduce yourself to somebody is going to play a huge role. You obviously don't want to just walk up and be like, "Oh, you're a sinner. You're going to hell." No, you don't want to be, but you also don't want to be the dude standing on the corner with the sign condemning everybody to hell. You definitely don't want to be that dude because that dude is a fucking hypocrite, lying piece of shit. So you see them all over. They're horrible at what they do. They have no idea what the fuck they're doing. The introduction to somebody depends on your setting, wherever you're at. I mean, this is definitely not much of a sales setting. Like we're here now doing this, but like if you're out in a store somewhere, your introduction, if you're just now meeting somebody for the first time, you don't want them to know you're a believer. You don't, because that spirit in them already knows. If you're a real believer and you're going to talk to somebody who's an unbeliever, the spirit in them already knows, right? That's the spirit that controls the children, the disobedient children. What the fuck? Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2 talks about it. The spirit that now worketh in the children of, wherein in times past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. That's what I'm looking for. The spirit that now works in the children of disobedience. You remember the story in Acts where the demon said, "Paul I know, Peter I know, but who the fuck are you?" Right? Those spirits already know The person doesn't, though, right? The person doesn't. You don't want the person finding out until it's too late. You don't want them to find out until it's too late. So, I mean, even if it's with your family, it doesn't matter who it is. If you get converted, boom, and you're reading your Bible and you know it and you haven't opened your mouth to anybody yet, don't tell them about it until you're ready to defend the gospel, until you're ready to preach the gospel. Don't tell them. Introduction is huge, huge. This is your key. This is your key moment, man. That's your key moment when you meet somebody. It could be all great. Hi, how you doing? Whatever. I'm Perry. I'm preacher. Whatever. However you're going to do it, it doesn't matter. But you really don't. Hang on. I don't know what she's saying. Oh, okay. Cherie, I obviously, it is what it is. So, uh, your introduction is your key moment. That's when you're going to, and I mean, even if you've known the person your whole life, you haven't introduced yourself yet as a believer. And so when you do that, you're, I mean, you're a brand new person as a believer. All things are made new. So when you go to do that, you're not introducing them to you as in you, like Shirley with her family. She's not introducing herself as Shirley, the sinner who goes to the heathen building, who, played sinner and repeat her whole life. You're introducing him as Shirley, can't stand perfect. Jesus lives in me. That Shirley. So it's a whole different person, really, at the end of the day. The introduction it's everything. It really is everything. You want them to walk into that. I don't want to call it a trap, but it is. It is. It's you want them to see their chains. You need them to see that they're in chains. If you can't, if you don't show them their chains, then they can't know that they're slaves. You know what I mean? Jesus said, "Whoever sins is a servant of sin." If somebody thinks they're saved, they don't think they need the Savior. You see what I'm saying? And this is where this comes from. Jesus said, "Those that he didn't come for the righteous; he came for the sinners." If they think they're already saved, you could show them all the verses in the world, all the nice verses. The 1 John 3:9, the Colossians 1:20. You can show them all the nice verses in the world. You're never going to sway them. The only way to, what's the best word for it? What's the best way to explain this? I'll put it to you like this. You don't buy a car because you don't need one. You buy a car because you need one. Babies, please. You don't buy a car because you don't need one. You buy a car because you do need one. You don't fill up your gas tank and then drive in a circle and go back and fill it back up. No, you go back to the gas station when you need more gas. You don't. I know you guys get the idea, but I'm trying to find another example for this to etch this into your minds. Nobody's going to, and I'm having a hard time focusing because my babies won't stop screwing up. Girls, Fargy, in there. No, you don't do that when moving. No. You don't buy a car because you don't buy a car when you don't need one, right? You buy a car when you do need one. The same goes for Jesus. They're not going to believe in him if they don't think they need him. If they think they've already got him, then you can show them all the good verses in the world. They're not going to do anything. So your introduction, you want them to fall into that. You want to make their chains visible to them. So before telling them you're a believer, before anything, find a way to bring up the question, do you sin? That's your introduction. That's it, because you have to show them why they need a car, so they'll buy the car. You have to show them why they need salvation, so they'll accept it. You have to show them why. If you don't show them why, then they don't think they need, right? The best clip I have for this, hang on. I am going to show this. Let me see. I understand. Let's see if this works. I hope it does. This is the best clip I could ever show you, and I'm going to show you right here.
I didn't say Amish Buddhist. Do you guys not want to make money?
I want to make some fucking money, okay? I could sell anything. Shit, I could sell Louis to a convent full of nuns, get them so horny they'd be
There you go.
I can sell anything.
That's the attitude. You can sell anything. Sell me
anything.
this fucking pen right here. You can sell anything, sell that. Go ahead. Sell me that pen.
So now I would like to point out, he hands it to this guy. This guy said, "Oh, I can sell anything, right?" He's like, "I can sell anything. I could sell Louis to a convent full of nuns." And what happens? Watch this.
Finish eating first, I need tonight.
What's he do? Makes an excuse. He makes a sorry ass excuse. So he said he could sell anything, but when put on the spot, could he do it? No. He hands it off.
Brad, show him how it's done. Boom. Sell me that pen. Watch. Go on.
Let me sell this fucking pen.
That's my boy right there.
This pen.
Fucking sell anything.
Why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you name down that napkin for me?
I don't have a pen.
Exactly. Supply and demand, my friend.
Supply and demand. Okay? Supply and demand. It is absolutely the same thing here. It is imperative. Imperative. I cannot stress this enough. That's why it took an hour and a half to get us to where we're doing the actual first step of introduction, is to show you the cost, to show you everything that has to do with this, because this step, your step one, it is imperative that you get this right. Without the need, you'll never get them across the finish line. If you do not show them why they need him, they're never going to know. They're never going to listen to you, because if they think all of them, even the dumbest sinners that I've ever met, think they have it all figured out. Jake being my example from the other night. Absolutely. The guy that William Freeman that just came up here said he just watched the me and the Jill discussion, and he's like, that must have been frustrating. Yes, because even the dumbest sinners think they have it all figured out, but yet then they still serve sin. So unless you show them the need, you will never be able to show them the solution. If they do not see the problem, they will never even attempt the equation, right? If I wrote 2 + 2 = 4 on the board, nobody's going to try and solve the problem because they think they already have the solution. If you write 2 + 2 and then you have that equal sign and you show that it needs the solution, somebody's going to try and figure it out. That's what you're going for. So the introduction, it's very important. Don't tell them you're a believer. Don't tell them nothing. Always fucking, of course, be personable. Hey, what's up? Blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, that's what you're going for, and you want to be as sneaky about that as you can. That's why Jesus said, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Be as sneaky about it as you can. What I have found, and this coming from 11 years in the car business, is that people, and this is the most effective tool that I can ever give anybody. You can use this to your advantage on so many levels when dealing with sinners. People are always all about themselves. Always. That's all they care about. That's all they care about is themselves. That's why Jesus said in John chapter 7:18, right here, he said, he that speaketh of himself seeks his own glory. Right? Right here. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory. But the opposite is also true. But he that seeketh glory of him he that seeketh his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. So you're coming at them. You're this guy. You're the one trying to glorify Jesus. You're trying to get them out of the fire. You're trying to show them the gospel. And you got to know that they are all this guy. All of them. Every single one of them. And you can use that to your advantage. And it begins at the introduction. It begins at step one. Because one of the best ways I have found to get somebody to answer that question is to say these words. I have a question for you. I'm wondering if you can help me with it. Okay? Because once you ask somebody, can you help me with this? Instantly they go into self-righteous mode. Oh, I can help them. Right? They want to feed that flesh. They want to feed that pride. They want to feed their pride. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to agree with you. Okay, yeah, sure, I can help. Right? Generally speaking, this is like money or whatever. But in this instance, you don't tell them you're a believer yet. Hey, how's it going? Hey, I got a question for you. Can you help me with something? And they're going to say, yeah. And you'd be like, I've got a question. I just want to know something I've been arguing, something I've been wrestling with and dealing with myself for the last few weeks or a couple of years, whatever you want to tell them. Do you still sin? And now they're in that position. And it's a very close-ended question. You don't want, there's two different kinds of questions you can ask somebody. There's a close-ended question and an open-ended question. There's only two kinds. You want this to be a very close-ended question. There's only one answer they can give. It's either yes or no. And when they start trying to go off into left field, you just gently bring them back because you're still in that introduction phase. You haven't started anything with them yet. All you're doing is asking, do you sin? And everybody here knows what the answer is going to be 99.9999999% of the time, 99.99999% of the time, unless they're an atheist, and then they'll be like, oh, I can't sin. I don't believe in sin because I don't believe in God. But then that's where you start taking it on the road. These are the 10 steps, right? These are 10 steps. The steps stay the same. The road that you take to get through them might be different, right? I've got 10. This is literally how easy. It's the front and the back. That's the plan for the next 3 shows. So, but it's that introduction, that first, do you sin? Because once you get that out of them, then they can see their chains. Then that's where it begins. So the introduction, you want to make sure you get that question asked, and you want their name. Always get their name. It's very, very, very important. I would assume you guys would do this, but it's very important, and a very, very good thing that I learned in selling cars was people like to hear their name. So you ask somebody, hey, what's your name? They'll be like, oh, I'm Brett. Okay, hey Brett, what's up? Just always say their name every now and then. Make sure, because they like to hear it. It keeps them interested, no matter what you're doing. Okay, Brett, I've got a question. Maybe you can help me. And they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I can help. Sure. And then I've been dealing with this for a while. Do you still sin? And that's when they're going to be like, oh, shit. Because that spirit already knows. But now now you're setting them up. And you know the answer. So you go from there. That is step 1. Introduction is the most important. Doesn't matter how you do it, as long as that has to be. Because if you don't show them the chains, you can't show them the Savior. If you don't show them the chains, you can't break the chains. The chains, Jesus broke the chains 2,000 years ago. They still don't know. Some of these people are fucking 60, 70, 80 years old walking around. They still don't know they're in chains. They've been on this earth their entire lives, serving sin, going to the heathen building, thinking they're saved, and they have no fucking clue. And they're still in chains. They still serve sin. Sin, repent, repeat. Sin, repent, repeat. Sin, repent, repeat. So the best thing you can do for them is show them their chains. Because even if it ends at the introduction, even if they get pissed and walk away, now you've shown them. Now they're going to think about it. And that's why it's so important. That's why that question has to be number 1. That's the only fucking way. It's the only way. That's it. Is do you sin? They say yes, and then you move on from there. The next step number 2, is common ground. Common ground. All right? It's common ground or discovery, both, right? Common ground. Paul talks about this. You think preaching is not sales. It absolutely is. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. So the minute you get that yes, right, once they say they sin, you got a couple different ways you can go. You can find the common ground with them. You can work through it. Be like, oh, okay. I was just curious. I'm asking. I went to the heathen buildings for all this long. Blah 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 blah. Right here, common ground discovery. 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 23. Right here. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. Right there. That he might what? So what's the goal for Paul here? Is to gain more, is to be fruitful and multiply. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God, but under the law to Christ, which is the law of freedom, that I might gain them that are without law. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. Okay, awesome. So right here, you see in 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 23, step 2 is common ground. This is what Paul does. This is what he did. This is how you do it. So you want to find some common ground. So you ask them, do you sin? You get the yeah, and they're going to be like, well, what is it you need help with? Be like, oh, man. Be like, what's your background? You just shift the fucking whatever. You have to remember, and this is the big thing too, you have to remember you're the professional. You're the professional, not them. You don't, they're not going to lead you through the Bible study. You're there to lead them through the study. In your mind, you've got all this shit going through your head. You're going to have introduction, common ground, show them freedom, the presentation, walking around, going through all the verses, test drive, trade evaluation. You're going to have all this shit going through your mind. They don't know that. They don't know that. You're supposed to be the professional. So if you're going to talk to somebody about this, you have to understand that your job is to guide them through it without them really realizing that that's what's happening, right? You don't want them to feel like they're being sold. You want them to feel like you're their friend. You want them to feel like you actually love them, like you give a shit. And sometimes that does take the form of being a fucking asshole. It just does. Like, I mean, it is what it is. You say what you want about me, but everybody that stuck it out, that lines up with the book, they'll tell you, yeah, I'm a dick, but it's because I love them. They all know. I don't know how to explain it, man. It's common ground. Find common ground. So you get the intro out of the way. You're like, yeah, do you send? They're like, yeah. Why'd you ask? Whatever, blah, 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 blah. Should it be like, I'm just curious. What's your background, right? Find the common ground. Because something in their life, do they have kids? Are they married? It depends on you, obviously. Do they have kids? Are they married? What heathen building were they brought up in? What religion were they brought up in? What do they do for work? Do they have dogs, cats, snakes, guinea pigs, whatever? Find some common ground with them before just opening up to John 8:34 and sliding it across the table. Find some common ground. Yes, you got the yes out of them. Yeah, they sin. Get some common ground with them. Be like, oh, okay, I'm just curious. Like, what? You're not going to say heathen building, obviously. What church did you grow up with? Do you have a religion at all? Find some common ground. It doesn't matter what it is. Find common ground. Make them feel comfortable after asking them that question. Once you get that, do you sin? Make them feel comfortable even after they say yes to that, because that spirit's already going to be on fucking high alert. You want to make sure that the person knows they can trust you, that you're going to do your job as a faithful witness, and make sure you understand that you're guiding them. You're leading them. You're not letting them lead you. You can let them think they are. That's okay. But you're not letting them lead you. You're leading them. You've got the starting line, and you've got the finish line. The finish line needs to always be in mind. You need to always be working your way to that finish line. What's the expression for it? Always be. It was the ABCs of sales, right? ABC, always be closing. Always be closing. Hang on one second. Joking on something. ABCs of sales, right? Always be closing. ABC. Always be closing. So from the moment that you do your introduction with them, the moment that you talk to them, to the moment they go across that finish line, it's always be closing. You're always in control. Always with the process in mind on which route you're going to go, how you're going to do it. You're going to cater each and every demonstration, so to speak, to the individual that you're dealing with. And that second step, the common ground, is very important. You want to have that with them, because that gives them an opportunity to to have a little bit of trust in you, right? The minute you tell them that you're perfect, they're gonna go scatterbrain, right? And you want to have as much credibility built up as possible to hopefully survive that. That's the trick, right? Is getting them through it. It's just getting them through it. So common ground. Paul did the same thing. It's 1 Corinthians fucking 19 through 23, right? That's exactly what he was doing. That's exactly what this is. So when somebody says, "Oh yeah, I'm a Jew. I don't believe in Jesus." Okay, so obviously, if you're a believer, you're not going to find much in common with that. But are you married? You got kids? You find some kind of common ground. Everybody in here that knows Sinner Dave, he used to formerly Sinner Dave, formerly known as Jew Dave. Everybody in here that knows him, there's a reason why he always kept coming back to the channel. There's a reason why me and him, on outside of the Bible, there's a reason why me and him can get along and have a good dialogue with each other, because there's a lot of common ground. I found a lot of common ground with him in the beginning of it. I've given him no reason to, other than his fucking upbringing, I've given him no reason to doubt anything that comes out of my mouth. You want that common ground. To the Jews, he became as a Jew, that he might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that he might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, not being without law to God, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without law. This is all Paul's talking about, man, is finding the common ground with people. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I have made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Here it is. That is step 2. It's common ground. And yep, it's right there in the Bible. How about that? Now, along with this, it's step 2 is common ground / discovery. So you also kind of want to find out, what the person, you can find out anything about them in this stage of things, what their aspirations are. What the fuck? Talk to them, like, what do you do for a living? How's that going? Be personable. Step 3. It's all the car steps. It's the fucking car steps. I didn't know how else to write them. It's find the car, right? Step 3 is find a car. In the car business, there's 2 ways to do it, man. There's a few ways to do it, but my bosses, they used to hate it. They would fucking hate it when you'd sit the customer down and they'd say, "Well, I want to be at $245 a month, or I want to be at $250 a month." Everybody wants to be at $250 a month. My bosses would hate it because there's nothing on the lot that's going to do that for them. You want them to pick what they want, because people won't buy something they don't want. So find the car would also be show them the freedom, right? Show them what it is. So you've already asked, do you sin? They've said, yeah. You got common ground. Now's the part where you tell them, you're a believer, or, it's you're prepping your presentation. That's what you're doing. So this would be the John 8:34. This would be the John 8:34. This would be that first, great. I'm glad, we're both metal fabricators. You found that common ground. You said you sin. I know you said you grew up in a Baptist, you got a Baptist background. I want to show you something, right? This is where you help them find the car they're looking for. And the car they're looking for is the same car that you're driving. It's the nicest one on the lot. There's not a nicer one than what we have. There's nothing better than being perfect and free from sin. There's nothing in the world that's better than that. So now you're going to help them find the car. And your step with that's John 8:34. And it just is what it is. And here's the reason. I'm going to show you. Matthew 7:6. Here's the reason. It has to be this. There's a reason for this. Again, you can't sell somebody on the idea of what Jesus really did unless they know they need him. If they think they're already saved and you rush straight to 1 John 3:9, if you rush straight to 1 John 3:9, they're gonna they still sin, but they think they're saved. So they're going to automatically twist 1 John 3:9. They're going to say, oh, well, that's just talking about trying really hard not to sin and just, you're going to still occasionally mess up. No, you don't want to show them 1 John 3:9 because you're throwing them a pearl and all they're going to do is trample it. That's all they're going to do. They're just going to trample it. So to help them find the car, like on the car lot, we would ask customers, what kind of color are you looking for? Do you want leather? Do you want sunroof? Do you want this? You don't talk about numbers. You don't talk about nothing. You're not going to get into any details with anything in this. Step 3 is just helping them find the car, and they'll give you little hints to what they want, and then you kind of guide them through the lot to which car to pick. This is right here. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under your feet and turn again and rend you. So no, you don't start with 1 John 3:9. You don't start with Colossians 1:20. You don't start with John 3:16. You do not start with Romans 10:10. You do not start with the soft ass verses, the ones that are, the ones that do bring the joy and the peace. You don't start with those. You've got your common ground with them. You want to find out. You want to guide them, right? You want to guide them to the car that you've got a bonus on that day. So a lot of times, like on a weekend, on a Saturday, we'd get a list of cars in the morning. The bosses would come out. We do our Saturday morning meeting. They'd tell everybody, we do the highest gross trophies for the week, and they'd come out and they'd give us a list of cars that had bonuses. They'd have spiff money on them. So like let's say we had a 2015 Kia Optima, and it had been sitting there for fucking 130 days. The battery needed to be charged that morning because it's been sitting there so long. The battery died. It's collected dust. It's white with a fucking red interior, and nobody wants the damn thing. They'd say, okay, whoever sells this car gets an extra $500. So your job as the salesman is to kind of guide the customer to this bonus car. Look at it the same way. So step 3, finding the car, showing them, is 1 John 3:8, John 8:34. You've already got the yes from the introduction that they still sin. You want them now to narrow down to what they're looking at specifically. This is when you do it. John 8:34, 1 John 3:6, 1 John 3:8, Romans 6:16, Isaiah 1:28, Amos 9:10. The list just goes on. And this here, right, this is where you're going to find out if they're serious buyers. And I'm using the terminology from the car business, but it's the same thing. You don't want the fucking tire kicker. The guy that you're going to spend 2 hours with this guy talking to him. He's not there to buy a car. It's I'm just looking. And I will tell you, this is the truth. 90% of these were people that told me they were just looking. 90% of them were people that told me they were just looking. Any idiot can sell a car to somebody that comes in and says, give me that one. Any idiot can sell a car to that guy. These, this is where you find out if they're serious. This is where you show them the change. You show them that they need Jesus, right? You're guiding them to that bonus car. You're going to sell them on the idea. You're going to give them the gospel. You're going to show them the truth, and that's that. So you're step 3. That's girls. Step 3 is your John 8:34, your 1 John 3:6, your 1 John 3:8, and while we're talking about it, right here. You don't give them 1 John 3:9 ever. Not until the end. Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him. It's verse 6. Verse 6. And then so that's when you would ask the person, hey, so I'm going to use it like this. Like it'd be like, hey, what kind of color are you interested in? This is where you look at the person, you say, hey, can you read me this verse? And you show them this verse. And then you ask them, what does that verse say? And you make them read it to you. That's a big deal. You want them to see it, touch it, feel it. Same thing with the car businessman. Same exact thing. You want them to see it, touch it, feel it. While you're walking through the lot, showing them cars, You want them to look in the window. You want them to see the big screen. You want them to see the panoramic sunroof. You want them to see. You want them to read it themselves. You want to know that they're reading it, because too many times I've handed a Bible to somebody and they just look at it and try and hand it back, and I say, no, please read it out loud. And you guys have all seen me do this a whole bunch of times, where the person on the screen, they'll say, yeah, I read it. No, you got to read it out loud. Read it to me, because you want to know that they're actually reading it. And you take them through these first few qualifier verses, right? You're just trying to get a feel for them, see if you're going to figure it out. You don't show them the 1 John 3:9. You don't show them the 1 John 3:8. You don't show them the 1 John 3:9 and the Colossians 1, because if they can't handle these verses, if they can't handle 1 John 3:6, if they can't handle 1 John 3:8, he that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. If they can't handle that they're of the devil, then they're not going to be able to handle the rest of it. You could show them the whole thing. They're never going to be able to handle it. They're never going to be able to handle it. If they can't handle these first few verses, they're never going to be able to handle it. It's like if we look at it like this, if I'm going to use a comparison, I would never, ever, ever, ever in my life sell a fucking Hayabusa. I don't know if you guys know what that is or not. It's like the fastest motorcycle in the world. I would never sell a Hayabusa to an 18-year-old kid who's never rode a motorcycle, right? Would you? No. Never. I would never do it, because when he kills himself on it, it's going to be your fault. So you want to do it right. So step 3, find the car, show them. It's your it's the preparation before the presentation. This is where you're going to find out if they're for real or not. You already asked if they sin. Now you walk them through John 8:34. Make them read it to you. I cannot stress that enough to you. Make them read it to you. Slow them down. Make them go slow. Make them fucking repeat the verse once or twice. I mean, it's always profitable. And the reason you do that, right? And this is what I was talking about earlier, and I told you guys to explain. The people who are always like, well, you only preach 6 verses. 1, because if you can't get through those 6 verses, then showing you the rest does nothing. It does nothing. Right? I can show you the entire Bible. You guys can see it clearly. I don't just preach 6 verses. I've got a whole arsenal of weaponry with this book. But if they can't get through the simplest things, Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. If you've got a customer that can't pick a car, if you've got a customer out on a lot and they're like, you don't have anything I want, then are you going to spend all fucking day with them? No. You want to move on to the next guy because you've got a family to feed. So these verses are your qualifying verses. This is where you prep your presentation. You find out if you're working with somebody that's legit. You find out if they're going to be able to handle it. You find out if they're going to hang. You find out what kind of a person you're dealing with. Are they going to get angry? Are they going to stay, are they going to stay calm? Are they open to listening? By now you've got the yes, you've got common ground, so the conversation is there. Now you show them the hard shit. And you start with the hard shit, right? You start with that car that nobody wants, because if the customer says, holy shit, hey, I really like that interior, you just got a $500 bonus. You start with the shit. Hey, Mr. Customer, this is going to make your payment so much cheaper. Let me show you this car. They love that. Show them this verse. Let me show you this. This is going to help you. And then hand them the Bible and make them read it to you. Put it up on the screen and make them read it. Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is a servant of sin. Then, remember back when get their name? Well, Brett, hey, I know you read the verse, but can you read it one more time for me? They'll be like, I just read it. Well, let's just read it one more time. Go slow. Slow them down. Always slow them down, because they're going to be going a mile a minute. Always slow them down. Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is a servant of sin. And the next question would be, hey, Brett, I literally just asked you 5 minutes ago, if you sin, what does Jesus say? Now you've shown them the chains. Now you find out if they're really there to buy a car or not. Now you've shown them the chains. And they say, well, fuck. Jesus meant what he said. Or they'll start giving you excuses. Or they'll start giving you objections. And again, ABC, always be closing. So now you have the objections. And you start dealing with those objections one at a time. Do not move more than 2 or 3 verses away. So they'll be like, well, doesn't Galatians chapter 5:19 say this? And then you can go to Galatians 5:19. Let them read all through 19. Or be smart and catch them in the beginning and say, hey, you're talking about 19. Can we read 18 first? And then once you're done with that, you bring them right back to John 8:34 until you can get them to accept that Jesus wasn't lying. You don't have shit. So you can show them Galatians. Go to Galatians. We go to Galatians chapter 5. And again, you don't want to cast your pearls before swine. So explaining to somebody that, hey, I'm free from the law. All these things are laws. So if I'm free from the law, none of this applies to me. Giving them pearls doesn't do anything for them. But you can go through the whole thing with them. But if you be led of the Spirit, you are not under the law. You immediately go back to John 8:34. I'm going to show you a clip of car sales. Same thing. I'm going to show you. I'm trying to make this. This is a lot. This is just a fucking lot. And I'm trying to. I love you guys. You better fucking know that. I just hope you know that. And I hope you're paying attention. Seriously. All right. So, what do we got here? Fuck. I don't know which clip it is. Hang on a second. I'm just going to pull it up. I'm just going to share my YouTube screen and do it on there. It's easier. YouTube. You're going to watch the first. Now, if anybody of you are interested in this movie, I don't preach movies, right? I fucking hate them, to be honest. I hate everything that has to do with the world and just fucking bleh. But if you're ever going to do this, this is a movie I highly advise you watch. And it'll help you if you're ever going to go buy a car at a dealership. You'll know what the fuck's happening to you when it's happening. But for the most part, nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows about this. It's illegal in most countries. Suckers. Sales clip. I want to get this first one. Here it is. Okay, so we're going to watch this. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. What he does.
These aren't the numbers that we talked about. I would like to see the invoice.
Why? It doesn't matter what we paid for the car. What matters is what you paid.
Okay.
Now,
so before we fully start this here, I want you to understand what you're looking at. You're looking at a car salesman with his customer. They've already been through all the steps. They're at the end. They're towards the end. They're at the negotiation part, right? But what he's going to do with this guy, I want you to see, because you're going to do this throughout the entire process. Throughout the entire process with somebody, you're going to keep dragging them back over and over and over to the same verses over and over and over for 2 reasons. 1, it makes it so they never forget them. They never forget the verses. 2, it makes it so they never forget you. So even if they quit and walk out in the middle, they're going to go listen to some other idiot preaching the same damn verses, because you've just drilled these verses, these 5, John 8:34, 1 John 3:6, 1 John 3:8, Romans 6:16. They've just listened to you drill these verses into their head. They're going to tell you to go fuck yourself, or they're going to make it all the way through, which is awesome when that happens. It's very rare, but when it does, it's awesome. So they're going to go straight from you. They're going to go to some other idiot on YouTube. They're going to go to some other idiot preacher, and they're going to go ask them about those same exact verses. And you're going to tell them that the verses mean exactly what they say, and they're going to go try and listen to somebody else, and that somebody else is going to tell them, no, it doesn't mean what it says. Somebody else is going to tell them that the Bible's lying, and they're finally going to be able to see. They're finally going to see that they're being lied to, and they're going to come back to you. And that's what you're going for. Like, this is how we call them B-backs in the car business. We call them a B-back when somebody comes and they say, oh, I'm just looking, and you show them the car, and you get all the way through the negotiation. They're like, yeah, it's just, I think you could have came down a little more. And you're like, I really can't. And they say, okay, well, I'll let you know if I don't find a car. We call those a B-back because they say they'll be back, and then nine times out of 10 they never do. I had a 70% fucking B-back ratio, like closed deal. Like, my B-backs always came back, and this is why. So pay attention to what he's doing here.
These aren't the numbers that we talked about. I would like to see the invoice.
Why? It doesn't matter what we paid for the car. What matters is what you paid. Now, what's the closest you come to this number? Oh, Lance, you're killing me. I won't make a dime on this.
So you'll see what he's about to do this.
Why can't I see the invoice?
What do you have, some kind of invoice fetish?
I know it's in that drawer over there.
It's not in that drawer over there.
If I could see the invoice, I just feel like then I would know what's going on. You know, but I don't know.
Right. Nope.
What color is this asshole?
Don't start that shit. Will you just give me a pencil on this? He wants to see the invoice.
Tell him the invoice is in the safe. The regional headquarters.
This is higher than my first hit.
Not the last time we'll be watching this clip either. Customers do this. These fucking people will do it. If you leave your Bible unattended, they will look.
This, did you look at this?
Yeah, these things are expensive. You got
Now
this
watch
kind of
right
money?
here. Crumbles it up, throws it in trash, and he keeps going. He'll keep crumbling them up, throwing them in the trash.
I want to talk to the owner.
I want to talk to you. Absolutely. I'll be honest with you, Lance. I went too high, you went too low. What do you say we meet somewhere in the middle?
I know math. That is nowhere near the middle.
I didn't say exactly the middle.
So all these things, he gets
Who are you
through
going to talk to?
like 5,
My
6
boss.
pieces of paper. Now watch what he does.
Can I talk to him?
No.
The monthly payment, it seems high.
You write down a number that will make you happy. I want to make you happy. I want you to come back 3 years from now and buy another car.
That's how much I can pay every month. I mean, that would make me happy.
Did you bump your head?
You guys have all heard me say that to somebody. Right here, boom.
What's the
See how he
closest
brings
you
the
come to
paper
this?
back out of the garbage? He brings the paper back out of the garbage. And yes, we did this. Yes, I've done this a lot of times with customers over cars, over the same exact thing. But we do the same thing with the Bible. Do the same thing with the Bible verses. Constantly bringing the verses back. Always putting these original 4 or 5 back in their face. Pick one and stick with it. Like you're going to show them all of them, right? You're going to go through the whole spiel. You know, John 8:34, 1 John 3:6, 1 John 3:8, Romans 6:16, Isaiah 1:28, Isaiah 13. You know, the list goes on. You're going to go through. I can't help you believe, but I can show you the truth. If that's, you know, I mean, it is what it is. You got to choose whether you believe in them or not. There's a Bible study in the description. There's a link in the description called Salvation Assurance, Never Sin Again. Finish that study and then come talk to me. But I'm not trying to be rude to you or anything like that. I'm on a roll here. There's a link in the description to the Bible study. It's 58 verses. Just trust the verses. They just mean what they say, and you'll be fine. Come see me after, and I'll set something up, and you can come up here. I've got no problem. I will absolutely help you to the best of my ability. But at some point, I mean, you see the verse on the screen right here. This isn't an easy one, and it just means what it says. Jesus answered them, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin." And so they'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to," you know, they're not going to want to say the words that they're the servant of sin, but you've already got their yes. You've already asked, "Do you sin?" They've already said yes. You show them the verse. You don't want to sin. Okay, awesome. Then go do that Bible study. Trust finish it too. Make sure you finish it. I don't know what your name is. I see it comes up Rachel. I'm just going to assume Rachel. I'm going to call you Rachel. So go do that Bible study. Make sure you finish it. It's 58 verses. It's an hour and a half of your life that will change the rest of your life. Just trust the book. Trust the book. It's not my words. It's his words. I'm not telling you my words right now. I'm showing you his words. And I'm in the process of teaching everybody how to do this with people. So you're kind of catching me at an off time. I mean, you're more than... Actually, would you like to be the example for everybody? Are you cool with that? I'll put the link. You can come up. I'll walk you through it. I'll show everybody. Here's the link. I do not have a problem with that at all. I think I'd be kind of a dick if I didn't offer. But Jesus died to make you perfect, and we show people how that works. And it's nothing what you would think. It's fucking insane. It's so cool. So this is what it is. You show them this verse, and they're gonna want to wiggle. They always want to wiggle. They always, because they're never. It's okay. Perfect. Yes, it's in. There's the links in the description. Just understand. I don't judge you for anything. Show me the same in return. Right? I don't go by the hypocrite law. And that's what people who try and live by that law, that's what they do. They judge you by a law that they can't keep, and it makes them hypocrites. We don't do that here. We don't judge anybody by that law because Jesus fulfilled it. It's called Salvation Assurance, Never Sin Again. The link is in the description. Go do that and then reach out and we'll talk. Just make it through. That's all you got to do is just make it through. Finish it and make sure you pay attention. Act like your life depends on it because it does. I promise you it does. Real believers cannot sin. Can't sin. It's not possible. So, John 8:34 says, Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. And what's going to happen here is two things. You're going to ask them, what does it say? They're going to say it. They're going to repeat it back to you. And then you're going to say, what does Jesus say? And they're going to say, well, if I said I'm the servant of sin. And you're going to say, yes, that's the truth. So, and then you ask them, always ask them, what does that mean about you? Right? You got to get it out of them. That's the hardest part about converting somebody is getting that out of them. They have to admit it. Because if you can get them to admit it, then you can heal them. If you can get them to admit it, then you can move forward. If they won't admit it, it's because their pride's in the way, and then you're not going to waste the next 2 or 3 hours. You're just going to say, okay. So the question then becomes, and man, this is why I need fucking somebody up here to role play. So if you've got somebody and they said they sin, right? You've gone through step 1, step 2, you're in step 3, you're showing them John 8:34. They've gone to Galatians, you pulled John 8:34 back out of the garbage, you put it back in front of them, and they just won't accept that Jesus is telling the truth. Then you ask them, really simple. So then you've already told me you sin, so you're choosing to serve sin for the rest of your life. And I mean, it's one or the other. That's where you could part ways, and you don't have to waste all day showing them a bunch of verses that don't apply to them because they choose to still serve sin. This is where 1 John chapter 5, and this can happen at any point in the process of getting them through. This is where he said this right here. If any man see his brother sin a sin which is not unto death, he shall ask, and he shall give him life for them that sin, not unto death. It means they have to stop sinning. There is a sin unto death. I do not say that he shall pray for it. The people that choose to sin until they die, that's the sin unto death. So if you've got somebody and you're showing them John 8:34, and they want to go all over the place and they can't focus and you can't get them to, you can't pin them. And that's the thing, like it's verse pin, verse pin, verse pin. You show them a verse, you pin them to the verse. Just like you see the dude doing in the negotiation video. The guy's numbers keep coming up and his don't come down. He's showing him the numbers. These are the numbers. They're not moving. This is what you're paying for this car. The guy's like, I feel like you're negotiating, but I feel like I'm negotiating, but you're not negotiating. That's because it's not fucking negotiable. And that's the beauty about this. So it's sales all the way around. But unlike sales, this is not negotiable. I'm not going to my boss to get a lower number for you. If anything, I'm going to come back with higher numbers because you're not listening. John 8:34 means exactly what it says. And this step 3 is where you show them that. And they can wiggle here, wiggle there. Never go 2 verses out. You always want to drag them back. Keep control of your customer. That's what we're going to do. Keep control of your customer. Control the conversation. Now, another saying I heard a lot in life growing up is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's a true statement. I just got done politely explaining that to Rachel. I can't help you believe. All I can do is show you the truth. I can show you the river, right? But I can't force you to drink out of it. What you can do, right? And this I learned in the car business. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But you know what you can do beforehand? You can salt their oats. Now, that's biblical. Believe it or not, it's very much so biblical. Very much so biblical. Because we are the salt of the earth. Right? Now, I don't know how many of you guys remember middle school, right? I was I'm going on 38 years old this year. So for me, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was fucking 20 years ago. Holy shit, time goes by. But you ever remember when somebody looked at you and say, "Why? Oh, you feel salty, right? You remember that? You feeling salty? Like when somebody muffs you, and there's nothing you can do, you feel all salty about it, and you're like, fuck. When somebody burns you so bad, and there's not like they got you, and they gave you that 1-2 your mama joke, and that you had nothing to come back with, and you just felt salty all day. That's what this is talking about. It's the same thing. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and be trodden under foot of men. If you're not okay with making somebody feel salty as fuck, this isn't going to work for you, right? You're never going to have a successful conversion. Unfortunately, I've seen it too many times. It just is what it is. This is the step 3 is where you do that at. Because you're going to find out what they're made of. You want to find out what they're made of. It's very important. So there's John 8:34, and then just keep pulling it out of the trash. Now watch. We'll finish this. Right here.
You keep asking me that, and I keep telling you higher numbers, but then your number doesn't get lower.
Exactly.
I thought we were.
He's holding the fucking paper out of the garbage can.
I'm negotiating, but you're not.
Absolutely. Me and this guy, Angelo Grippo. We used to have contests with each other because we were probably the 2 most brutal salesmen at this dealership. And we could get a customer to do anything we wanted. Like I could get a customer to crawl in the fucking trunk of their own car. And we would have little contests with that. He'd say, I bet you lunch that you can't get your customer in the trunk. And then I'd get my customer in the trunk, take a picture and text it to him. And it'd be the same thing back and forward. I bet you can't get your customer to call themselves a bitch. Something along those lines, just something weird. We just fuck with each other all day. And play that game with yourself when you're talking to these people. Challenge yourself to learn how to control the conversation. Challenge yourself on how to get people to go the way you want them to go so that you can better show them the truth. So I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to make that sound like a positive. I mean, it's a positive thing. It sounds like an asshole thing, but it's really not. It's you're building a relationship with these people. You're going to be responsible for them. And that's another thing too. Like I take this is life or death. So when I say keep control, I don't mean it as a bad thing, like not to be an asshole, but because you're going to guide them through the whole book, right? Yeah, you've got this couple of hours where you're sitting down with them to show them the truth, to show them step 1, step 2, to show them the verses, to show them what Jesus did, to get them clean, right? You want them to break free from sin. You're still going to teach them about the 144,000. You still got to teach them Daniel, Revelation. You got to walk them through fucking everything, right? That's it. When they've got questions, who are they going to call? They're going to call you. You need to be able to have the answers, but you need to be able to keep control. You're not there to learn from them. They're there to learn from you. You're the professional. And if you get anything from this clip, who's in control here? Is the customer in control or is the salesman?
These aren't the numbers that we talked about. I would like to see the invoice.
Why? It doesn't matter what we paid for the car.
Who's in
What matters is
control?
what you pay. Now, what's the closest you come to?
The customer could get up and walk out at any time. He could leave at any time. These people are free to go anytime.
Lance, you're killing me. I won't make a dime on this.
But the relationship is so strong, the personality's there.
Why can't I see the invoice?
That it's
You have
fun
some kind of
even for the
invoice
customer.
I know it's in that
And you want to
drawer.
have that
not in that
when you're
drawer.
converting
If I
somebody. You
can see
want
the
them
invoice, I
to.
just feel like then I would
You want
know
it
what's
to be
going on.
personable.
You know, but I don't know.
Who's in control though? The salesman's in control. Customer could walk out at any time, but he's not. Why? Because the salesman's doing his job.
Don't start that shit. Will you just give me a pencil on this? He
what
wants to
is
see
it?
the invoice.
Tell him the invoice is in the safe. The regional headquarters.
This is higher than my first hit.
Perfect. So, and then you see him digging the papers back out of the garbage. It's the same thing with John 8:34. And so you go John 8:34, 1 John 3:6, 1 John 3:8, Romans 6:16. Those are your 4 lead-off verses. They have to be every time, because that's where you're going to find out if they're serious or not. If they're actually going to finish it, that's where you're going to find out. And then even after Romans 6:16, bring them back to John 8:34, right? If you're going to give them a Bible, that's what we do when somebody gets through the study with me. We give them a Bible. In fact, hang on. So what we'll do is when I'm done showing everybody the verses, as I'm going through it, can you hand me the box? As I'm going through it, I mark the verses in the Bible that I'm going to give them for them. So you'll take the Bible, you'll open it up, you go to John 8:34, because you're at step 3 now, and you're going to show them, and you'll pull up the verse, and you'll mark it in the Bible you're going to give them, and then make them read it to you out of the Bible you're giving them. Now, the fun part, this does get fun, because if they don't make it past step 3, you take the Bible back and you don't give them shit. You don't give them nothing, right? It's the same as if a customer's not going to buy the car, they're leaving without a car. They came to buy a car, they're not buying a car. You're not going to give them a car to leave. No, you don't give them shit. If they don't make it through, they get nothing. And that's, I don't know. That's just how I learned how to, that's how I do it. I find it to be very, very, very effective, especially for the people that watch, right? Because usually, and I do find that most of the time, it's not the person that you're dealing with. Because with, who was it that I talked to a few days ago? That Chris guy, Chris Lasala. It's not him that I was really trying to convert. It's the people that end up coming from his channel. They search his name and find that video. They're going to watch that video, and they're going to see me tear that guy apart, right? And just expose him for what he is. It's them that you're trying to convert. It's the people that are going to watch and see. So in that regard, you do, I mean, you really, it is what it is. You want, these have to be your leadoff verses. They have to. It's how Jesus did it. That's why it's written there, is because that's what Jesus did. That's exactly what he did, right? Then they answered him, "We be Abraham's seed. We were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, you shall be made free?" Jesus answered them, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin." The reason the verse is there is because that's what came out of Jesus' mouth. So absolutely, that needs to be the first verse you show them. And then you work through the rest. And then you keep throughout the entire process, through step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7, 8, 9, and 10, throughout that entire process, you're going to bring that piece of paper back out of the garbage, and you're always going to go back to the verses because you want to make sure that they're understanding everything as you're going through it. So, yeah, you might move on from John 8:34, 1 John 3:6, 3:8, Romans 6:16, but you're always going to pull those verses back out of the garbage and make sure that they understand. If they walk away from the table at that point, then the next time they sin, that's what they're doing. So, very, very, very important. Sorry, I spent a lot of time on step 3. I mean, and that's where you're going to start getting your objections. That's when they're going to start fighting it and arguing it, and you're going to handle it all right there. But if they can't get through these four simple ass verses, then there's no sense in showing them the rest. Don't cast your pearls before swine. That's what I'm telling you. There we go. Okay, so moving on. Step 4. You've got them through John 8:34, 1 John 3:6, 1 John 3:8, Romans 6:16. You've got them through. Now becomes, so it's like having a customer in a car lot, and they've picked a car. They like the car. They're like, I love this one. I like the colors, like the inside. I want to see this car. So they've made it through all those verses. They don't want to be a sinner anymore. They say like this girl, whoever this is, crystal clear. They don't want to sin anymore. They're tired of it. They know Jesus isn't lying. I'm going to cry. Lord, I pray she finishes the fucking Bible study. Oh. They don't want to sin anymore. They want the truth. They want to be free. They want to know what salvation is. They want to go to bed knowing they're saved. They want to wake up knowing they're saved. They don't want the bullshit anymore. That's where you hit step 4. They pick the car. Now you're the salesman. You got to run inside. You got to grab the keys. You got to let your boss know what's going on. You got to make sure you take a copy of their driver's license, because if they steal the car on the fucking test drive, you got to make sure that you're covered. You want to make sure they have a real driver's license, because you don't need the bank kicking the deal back. There's There's a lot involved in this. That presentation is the most. I mean, step 1, 2, and 3, all equally important, and step 3 probably is the most important. Step 4, this is where you cater it to the individual. This is where everybody's got a different way to do it. You're going to do it however you want to do it. I do it the way I do it the way I do it. You can take my advice or leave it. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I highly advise you take my advice, but you don't have to. So, the presentation, the walk around, it's called a walk around and presentation. It's where you pop the hood, you open up all the doors, you start the car, you turn the fucking radio on, you got the bass bumping. Customers like, fuck yeah, I love this car. You're building up their emotions. You're getting them emotionally involved. You're showing them that that's the car they want. They don't want to leave in the jalopy they rolled up in. They want to leave in this thing. You're getting them to see, touch, and smell everything. I think I might actually wrap this up at number 4 too. We're at 2 hours and 30 minutes. I might wrap this up after number 4. Ooh, do I even want to go into number 4? Yes, I have to. I mean, I already started. So number 4 is the walk around, the presentation. This is where you have all the other verses. So everybody's like, oh, preacher, you only talk about 6 verses. Well, that's because you can't get through those 6 verses. If you get through the 6, I've got 100 more to show you. But you got to accept that Jesus meant what he said first. They have to accept that Jesus meant what he said. They have to accept that 1 John 3:6 and 3:8 mean what they say. If they can't accept those, that they just mean what they say, then they're never gonna accept the rest. Don't waste your time. I'm helping you with that, I promise. If they don't want to listen, reject them, say adios, move on to the next one. Number 4 is the presentation. So this is catered to the individual. And I go through the same process with everybody. It's always the same. If you go watch all the videos on here with me trying to convert somebody, with us going through it, with me paying somebody to go through the Bible study, it's always the same process, but sometimes I take a different road to get there, right? And you're going to have that. So for somebody who's a Jew, they've never believed in Jesus. So showing them the New Testament's not going to help them. So you have to know the verses for the Old Testament. Somebody that's a Muslim, you're going to want to know, well, let's not even get into that. But somebody who's, I mean, it just kind of depends on the person, because not everybody knows what the law is. Not everybody knows what sin is. Not everybody understands these. I mean, they all know what sin is. They all know if they do something wrong. You need to be able to show them. But you can cater the road, right? So the next step, you go from 1 John 3:6, 3:8, John 8:34, Romans 6:16. You go from those. You ask them, the next question would be, what is sin for you? Like you say, hey, Brett, you said your sin. What is sin for you? You know? And tell them. They don't got to tell you their deepest, darkest secrets. If you've got fucking bodies under your basement, it's probably best you don't tell me, because, you know, I'm got to go by man's law. I don't think that's really cool. I'm not going to judge you by it. I'm going to tell you Jesus reconciled all things, but you still need to go to prison for some shit like that. So tell them they don't got to tell you their deepest, darkest secrets, but you want to get an idea on what they think sin is, okay? Because there's specific verses that tell you what sin is exactly. To some people, saying the word fuck is sin. To others, to them, that's nothing. To some people, smoking a cigarette is sin. To others, it's not. You know, everybody's different as far as that goes. So you want to get an idea on what they think is sin. So you go back to that original question. And here, also, introduction. If they look at you dumbfounded, like, what is sin? And you explain to them it's breaking God's law, whatever, they're not going to know what that is. James 4:17 is your answer. James 4:17 is always going to be your answer, because James 4:17 tells you point blank exactly what it is. It's the knowledge, it's knowing to do the right thing right here. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. There's three major verses that tell you exactly what sin is. And there's another one that's not so, I mean, it's crystal clear, but it's not so clear. And that's 1 John 5:16. I can tell you I've never, or 5:17, all unrighteousness is sin, and there's a sin not unto death. So all unrighteousness, which is unbelief. If you look at 2 Corinthians 6:14, it's unbelief. Unrighteousness is unbelief because belief is righteousness. If you trust that Jesus reconciled all things and made you perfect on the cross, then you're perfect. That's belief. That's what righteousness is. If you believe he made you perfect and there is no sin and he reconciled all things, then you're perfect. But I've never used this, not once, so I'm not going to focus on that. James 4:17 is a good one. The one I like to start with is 1 John 3:4, right? And that's the one I expect, because when you ask somebody, well, what is sin to you? They're always going to have a different answer. And you have to know that ahead of time. And this is the big thing too. If you're going to do this, like, understand that everybody's answers are always different, but you're always going the same road. So you want to know how to close-ended question anybody. So like when you ask somebody, do you sin? The answer is yes or no, right? Close-ended questions are great. If you're going to ask an open-ended question, make sure you know every possible answer they can give to your question and know every single route that you're going to take, no matter what answer they give you. So, like when you ask somebody, what is sin for you? No matter what they say, I know where I'm going, right? So no matter what they say, I can cater my response to them, but I also know where I'm going. So I know that 1 John 3:4, James 4:17, and Romans 7:24. I know that those, right? It is, no, not Romans 7. Is it? No. It's Romans 14. Romans 14. Because the idea, you have to explain the whole thing to them, otherwise they won't know. They're not going to know. Romans 14:23. And he that doubteth is damned if he eat, because he eateth not of faith, for whatsoever is not of faith is sin. And never show this one first, ever. Never show them this first, because you're giving them the answer without cleaning them out. The process of taking somebody through this and going one verse at a time is because you're trying to clean them out. If you just give them the answer, it's not going to clean out all the junk. It's like when you do that, the junk is still there. You're just putting it under the rug. You're just putting a sheet over it. You don't want that. You want to clean them out. You want the arguments. You want the negotiations. You want the back and forward. You want to answer all their questions. And at the same time, you're there to guide them. So I never show them Romans 14:23 first, ever. I mean, really, usually, it's just one at a time. So I tend to always start with, when you ask somebody what is sin for you, they'll say, oh, well, what about like masturbation? Masturbation sin? Usually everybody, they'll go with that. They'll say, yeah, that could be sin. So you want to ask them what is sin, and what you're trying to do is to see what their knowledge is, where they're at with this, with the presentation. So you're walking them around the car, you're showing them, hey, you got power windows, power seats on this. We always started at the hood. You start at the hood, like we would start at the hood and then go to the passenger side, and then passenger rear, trunk, and then driver's side rear, and then driver's side. And once they sat in the driver's seat, you would just close the door. Like you're going straight into the test drive. The customer doesn't even have a choice. You tell them, sit down, I'm going to hop in on the other side and show you how all this stuff on the inside works. As soon as they sit down, you just close the door. And without even asking, nothing, you just close the door, and they naturally, their feet would just go in. They get comfortable. They sit down. They got their hands on the wheel. You just close the door. You'd walk back around, hop in the passenger side, and then you start explaining everything on the interior. So this is all one big flow. Like you're just going to flow straight through this whole little process. And this is the part that's the next question is, what is sin to you? You want to try and get them on the law, right? You have to talk to them about the law, because breaking the law is how they know they sin. So they might consciously, when you're talking to them, they might even say they're free from the law. But if they still think they sin, then subconsciously they're locked into that law. They don't understand what real freedom from the law means. They don't know that Jesus keeping it means it's over. They don't understand that. They say, oh, I'm free from the law. Jesus freed me from the law. All things are lawful. But they still think they can sin. So subconsciously, they're locked into that law. And you have to break that subconscious. And that's a bitch. That's a bitch with some people. Who do we have up here? And his name was Brett. We had fucking Brett up here a couple weeks ago. He said he's not under the law, but he still sins. And subconsciously, he's just locked into that law. Jake the Snake, he's one of those too. No, it's not beer. It's Monster in a jar. So it's you're getting into their subconscious, and that's what this presentation is for. That's why it has to be one verse at a time. That's why it can't just be John 8:34 and Colossians 1:20. That's why it has to be the whole process, and you have to know your shit. You have to read the Bible, and what it has to be is you need to have the person who converted you needs to be good at their job. So that way they've encouraged you, and you read the whole thing, and you need to be self-disciplined enough to read the whole thing, so the process to walk them through. So you want them first focused on the law. If they won't focus on the law, the next thing you would do is James 4:17. But you want to do these 3 verses. I don't give a fuck what else you do, how else you do it, but you've got John 8:34, you got all those, and when you get to this phase, you have to cover these 3 verses for them, because these are the 3 verses that explain what sin is. How can they overcome it if they don't know what the fuck it is? How? They can't. It's not possible. So they know they sin. They might say they're free from the law, but you show them that, hey, right here, 1 John 3:4 says, whosoever committed sin transgresses also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So again, you're showing them, you're walking them through it, you're flipping the pages for them, you're making them read the verses, right? This is it right there. For sin is the transgression of the law. So even though they're saying they're free from the law, I mean, you could really snap their mind right here if they already think they're free from the law, and then you show them, hey, because you think you sin, you're actually still breaking the law. Sin is transgression of the law. If there is no law, there is no sin. And that's Romans 7. Romans 7, Paul says, without the law, sin is death. And that's what most people, they don't get it. That's why Romans 7 is not about Paul as a believer. It's about Paul while he was still fighting that law. Where is it? And now, oh yeah, so this is also where you're gonna. Where is it? Without the law, sin is dead. Right there. Right there. For without the law, sin was dead. So you're only going to get 2 objections, your 2 biggest objections, and they're going to come up in this part. They're going to come up in step 4 when you're showing them the rest of it. You're going to, and I mean, maybe 3 when you're showing them John 8:34 and those might come up there. Write these down. It's the 2 objections that you're going to have. This is the only 2 they can ever come up with. There's always going to be 1 John 1:8, 1 John 1:8, and Romans 7. So from this video, once we're done with this tonight, I mean, for 1 John 1:8, it's really easy. You got to remind them that they're skipping out verse 9 and verse 7, and you want to walk them through that. Most of you already know that. If you haven't, go watch the 1 John video on here. And then I've got an awesome, and I'm not blowing my own horn here on this. I mean, it's just fucking, I wish somebody would have done this for me. I have an awesome video on Romans 7 on here, and it's literally just a chapter of Romans 7, breaking down the entire thing. We counted how many times the law is mentioned in Romans 7. The law is mentioned 31 times, I think 31 or 32 times in Romans 7 alone. It is about Paul under the law. It is not about Paul as a believer. Paul as a believer was free from sin. just like I am, just like the real believers are, right here, Romans 8:2. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has made me free from the law of sin. That's it, right here. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has made me free from the law of sin. Paul was free from sin as a believer. Romans 7 is about Paul as an unbeliever, but you can use Romans 7 to show somebody that without the law, sin is dead. So if they still sin, you show them that they're under the law. And then you ask them, well, and what I love to do with people, and you guys have heard me do it all the time, what I love to do is ask them, how many commandments can they name? There's 10. There's 10 commandments. There's 613 laws, though. There's 613 specific Levitical laws that they were supposed to follow. And when somebody thinks they sin, they're thinking they break one of those laws because sin is transgression of the law. And you don't do it to embarrass them. You do it to challenge them. Because if they've made it through John 8:34, 1 John 3:6, 1 John 3:8, Romans 6:16, and you've made it this far with them, then you're always be closing. You've got that finish line in mind. You don't want to embarrass them. You want to challenge them because they're going to give you the 1 John 1:8. They're going to give you the Romans 7 excuses, right? They're going to give you those as objections for you to overcome. If you make it this far, you want to challenge them, right? You want to test their knowledge, not to embarrass them, but to show them that, hey, maybe they don't know what they're doing. Maybe they really don't know as much as they thought they did. And the best way to do that is to ask them, there's 613 laws. Can you name them all? I love asking people that question. Can you name me all 613 laws? They look at you like you're fucking crazy. Okay, you can't name any of the 603. My favorite of those, you want to really fuck with somebody, is Deuteronomy 22:11. Because if they judge people by the law, then they're going to be judged by the law. That's what Jesus says in Matthew 7. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11, right here. Here's one of them 613, right here. Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. You're not supposed to mix clothes. You're not supposed to have a cotton mixed with polyester if you're going to go by the law, right? So if somebody still thinks they sin, they're still under that law, you can show them that even their clothes condemn them to hell if you're going to go by that law. So if they want to go by that law, you want to be able to show them these things and ask them, how many of the 613 laws can you list? They're going to say none. Okay, you can't list any of the 603. So let's see if you can name off the other 10 and actively make them try. Make them try. Involve them. Hey, Brett, do me a favor. List off as many of the 10 commandments as you can. They'll be like, oh, I don't want to. I don't know. And just make them try. There's no wrong answer. Don't ever let them think there's a wrong answer, because there's not. Let them try. But the kicker, you got to know them. You got to know them to be able to do that. So again, your knowledge, you're supposed to be the professional. You're the one doing the presentation. You're supposed to be the professional. You better know your shit. So that's always my first way to go with 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. And I always open up with 1 John 3:4 when I ask them, when I get them this far, because you want them to solve the problem. You have to show them what the problem is. And the problem is sin. And then you ask them, okay, well, you can't name off all the laws. You can't even name off all 10 commandments, right? 99.9999% of people can't give you all 10 commandments. It just is what it is. I can bring up any unbeliever right now, and they won't be able to do it. And when they see that they can't do it, you say, okay, so maybe if you didn't know all the laws, how do you know you sin then? And you ask that question. If you can't name me all the laws, how do you know you're breaking them? How do you know? And then you go Romans 2:15. See, and this is why I start with the 1 John 3:4. When we start talking about like what is sin, because you go through this whole little thing. This gives you a chance to explain what the law is, right? Not only are you explaining to them what the law is, what breaking the law is, but you're showing them, you're prepping them for what you're going to explain to them about what Jesus did in keeping the law. Romans 2:15, you ask them, okay, so you couldn't name me all 10 commandments. How do you know when you're breaking them then? How do you know you're sinning if you don't even know the law? If you don't even know the laws, how do you know you're breaking them? They'll say, well, I don't fucking know. I don't know. And it's because it's written on their heart. And then you can show them this, which show the work of the law written in their hearts. their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the mean, while accusing or else excusing one another. So then you show them the. I know you guys have seen me do this so many times, and it's always the same. It's always the same 10 steps, and it's funny because I'm explaining to you guys the 10 steps, and now you're probably remembering the people that have seen me do this. You're remembering me put somebody through this, and so now you're seeing that the ministry that I've done, this YouTube thing and Skype and all over the country and whatever else, has all been based on these same 10 steps. So you show them that the law is written on their heart, their conscience, right? It's their conscience. Your conscience is the law. So if their thoughts are the mean, if they think they sin, then what? And then you give them the example. Give them something they can physically touch. Tell them, here, balance the pen on your finger. Balance it on your finger. And if you fuck it up, what happens? The pen falls off. So if you think you sin, if you think you broke the law, then you broke the law. Right? And then and that's where you can show them. Then you take them to Romans chapter 7, verse 4. We're dead to the law. Romans chapter 10, Romans 7:4, Romans 10:4, Galatians 5:18. You bring them back to their own verse, right? And you just work your way through all the law verses. How you do it is up to you. How the road you take with it, what you talk to them about, is up to you. Their responses, essentially, really, they're all going to be the same when they make it that far. You're going to have there's an infinite number of ways that you can take them, but you have to have that main line. They have to understand what the law is. They have to understand what sin is. So the process to get them through it, it's cookie cutter. You can't screw this up. You really can't. So you show them the law, what the law is, and then you show them that it's your conscience. The law is written on your heart. Jesus fulfilled that for them. You show them he fulfilled the law, and then you show them Isaiah 53:5, and it says by his stripes. I'm just going to go to it. Isaiah 53, verse 5 is... verse 5. He was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. You could show them this one now. Once you show them that Jesus fulfilled the law, which is Matthew 5:17, by the way. Right? Matthew 5:17. Since we're already there. He, out of his own mouth, he said, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And he fulfilled the law only for the people that believe in him. He fulfilled the law only for the people that believe in him. If you don't believe in him, you're still going to be judged by the law. The law is not done away with. It's only fulfilled with Christ. That's why you have to believe in him. Because if you don't, you're still going to be judged by the law. So if you believe in him, the law is fulfilled. You're dead to the law, Romans 7:4. Then you can handle all the objections from there. Whatever it might be, they'll be like, well, that doesn't mean that the law is done away and abolished. It actually does for the believers. Ephesians 2:15 is another really good one to explain that to somebody. Ephesians 2:15. I'm not going to give you all of them. If you want the list, the Never Sin Again video has it in the description. It has every verse. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace. James, and then you go like the law is your conscience. Jesus fulfilled it. You're free from that law now, so sin is essentially dead. You can't sin because he fulfilled the law. It's not possible for us to break a law that does not apply to us. That you just can't. And they'll say, okay, well, so if the law is done, then how then you move into James 4:17. Then you go deeper. You say, okay, so if the law is done and there's no sin through the law, why does somebody still think they sin? And you get to that root cause, which is that knowledge of good and evil. And that opens up. You can do whatever you want with that. I've got nothing to tell you on how to do that. I go James 4:17, Genesis chapter 3, and then take the route whichever way, every path leads to Rome in this case, not Rome. Every path leads to Golgotha in this case. And at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. So you got what sin is, you got law, then you've got the knowledge of good and evil, and then you would move on to whatsoever is not of faith is sin, which is Romans 14:23. And then you show them Isaiah 53:5, where by his stripes we're healed. If you really believe in Jesus, you're supposed to be healed. So if you're healed, you should not have the knowledge of good and evil. And then you've got them through all that. I mean, this is literally, you're making them read you every verse. You're talking to them. You're discussing it with them all the way through the whole thing. And I think I'm going to cut it here. We're not quite done with step 4 because, and I'm not giving you the exacts because it's catered to the individual. I'm just giving you there's like the point A to the fastest. What's the fucking expression? How does it go? The fastest, the quickest route from A to B is a straight line. I'm just giving you the straight line version, how I do it. And then you're going to cater it to them because they're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? You got to have those answers. And the best thing you can do, right, without sacrificing professionalism, because you do have to be the professional. At no point can you let them see weakness in you at all. Fake it till you make it, buddy. That's what it is. Fake it till you make it. The best answer you can give somebody is, hang on, you know what? I don't know the answer, but let's learn together, right? Even if you know the answer, that's still sometimes a good way to go because you're including them. Hey, Brett, I understand you want that answer. I only know a little bit of it. Why don't we just learn together? Can you go to this verse? Let's look up this. I'm going to Google it. You fucking Google it right in front of them. Show them that you're just like them. You're a human being too, but without sacrificing the professionalism and without giving up control of the conversation, because you're the professional. You're the one leading the horse to the water. You've salted the fuck out of their oats. Now they're thirsty. Now you've got them at the water. Now you're showing them all the verses. You're getting them to drink. They're drinking, and you want them to fill. You want them to fill up. Another big thing with going into as much detail as you possibly can with them, obviously keeping in mind their schedule. If you got to do two times, whatever, but always go back over loosely what you've covered. Make sure they've retained the knowledge. Make sure they've retained what you're showing them. It's very fucking important that you do that. Always make sure that they're retaining the information. Check them on it. To show you this is what you're doing. This is what I'm showing you how to do today. I mean, it just is what it is. A whole lot of fucking Perry rambling, but at the end of the day, this is what it is. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. It's not an easy thing to do this with people. It's an uphill battle, right? It's just like selling cars. It ain't no different. Customer comes on a lot. They already hate you. That spirit in them already knows. They already hate you. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. You are literally going in. It's fucking exorcism. That's what it is. It just is what it is. And if God says okay for that person, then it's okay. Then he'll open up their mind and they'll understand. Well, Joey, if somebody has a brain, well, they're not going to want to serve sin anymore, man. I'll tell you that much. The people who stay stuck in that sin, repent, repeat shit, the people who stay stuck thinking they still sin, those are the ones without the brain. And no, you can't sell them anything. So, no, it does. It works when somebody wants it, Joey. It works when somebody is sick of serving sin. It works when somebody wants the truth. When somebody's happy with their illusions, you can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. So I would say it's actually the opposite of what you said. But at the end of the day, this is what it is. It's casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. And that's where your ministry comes into play. And Jesus said, it's your treasures where your heart is. And that's the words of Christ. Your treasures where your heart is. If you love him, this is it. That's it. If you don't, then it's not for you, then don't. Walk away, burn for it, man. I don't give a fuck. Don't be like this dude. This dude right here, he's a washout. Went left, fucking done. At the end of the day, he got smart ass comments because he's angry because he didn't take the time. So fuck him. That's what it is. Don't be afraid to show rejection. Like when you just Proverbs 14, Great verse for it. You know, when thou perceivest not in them the lips of knowledge, walk away. It's real shit. When they're not doing, when they're not believing, walk away. Don't be afraid of that. Oh no, that's Psalms. Well, Proverbs. Proverbs 14, verse 7. Go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. Don't be afraid to kick somebody out. Don't be afraid to say get the fuck out. Don't be afraid of that shit, because it's either they need to get kicked out because they're not believers, or B, it's going to be what makes them get sharp. It's going to be what sharpens them. Iron sharpens iron. It's not a pleasant process, and it's a permanent process. That's why I'm taking so long on this and being so thorough and explaining everything, because when you do this for somebody, you're taking on a role in that person's life. It's an honor, one, to have that role. Two, oh, holy shit, have you made it through that fast? I guess, yeah, it has been that long. Cool. So yeah, no, comment on any other video. I'll reach out. I have a Skype. I don't know if you have Skype, but you can find me. Here's my Skype name. It's the whole thing, live and all. Here's my Skype name. You can find me. If you got any extra questions, I will absolutely do everything I can to help you. It is what it is. If you need a Bible, let me know. We'll send you one. Jesus paid for it all. He reconciled all things. It's over. There is no sin. There can't be sin. He died on the cross. It's done. Anybody that thinks they sin, they are absolutely of the devil. It just is what it is. And it is completely, you wouldn't think so, but if you think back to Noah and the flood, right? And this is always something I point out to people. When the flood happened, only 8 people made it out. There was billions. There was a couple billion on the earth. It had already been populated and done. Only 8 people made it out. It's going to be very similar this time. Only it's 144,000, not 8. It's 144,000 out of 12 billion, and that's where this gets fun. So, doing this with somebody, it is an absolute honor to do that for somebody, to show them the truth, and it's a lifelong relationship, because you've converted that person according to the book. That person, you are then their pastor. You are their go-to, and you got to be that person. You got to be able to be that person. And responsibility is a big one. It's a big responsibility. This isn't it's not something to take lightly. It's not a joke. You are it's a massive role to play in somebody's life, and you want to make sure you do it right. So that's why I'm taking my time on this. I really do hope this is profitable for you guys. But the verses are never going to change for anybody, ever, and they just mean what they say. It's very simple. It's very easy. If you find me on Skype, Rachel, that's any questions you got, we do have the answers. And only scripture. I will only give you scripture, and it will always just mean what it says. There's no. It's a big deal. This is a big deal. So, and nobody's, you want to find a faithful witness. You want to be a faithful witness. If you're, it's here's a verse for Joey right here. The wisdom of the prudent, and this is a perfect verse to close us on to. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. Fools make a mock at sin. They think it's just a joke. They think it's no big deal, right? The sinners who say they believe, they think it's no big deal. Oh, but I only sin like once a month. They think it's no big deal. They're going to go to hell for it. It's a very big deal. Jesus died to free you from it in full. He made you perfect on that cross. If you reject that, you reject him. So it's a very big deal. And this is, I want it to be profitable for you guys. Step 4 is a big one. It's the presentation. How you do it is huge. We're all the way up through the law part now. Law and the knowledge of good and evil. And then you show them that they're healed. But there's a second half to that, and we'll pick that back up when we do the next one. It'll be Thursday night. Will be the second half to this. I don't know if we'll do. I think we're gonna end up doing 3. I think we'll end up doing 3 shows on this through this whole process. But to show you guys, I mean, that's what it is. If you guys are interested at all, go on YouTube. Ooh, I can post a link from here. Yay. They have the whole movie on here, which I don't know how long it'll last on here. Usually there it is. They tend to delete it real quick. So it's on here. It's free. It costs you nothing. Grab some popcorn, sit down, fucking listen to these guys. Oh, another big one I want to show you before we hang up. When you show them a verse, like when you ask them a question, you know what I'll do? I'll just show you. Damn, I can't do it to Jason. I can't do it to him. When they ask you a question, when you ask them a question, when you say, hey, what does this verse mean? Shut the fuck up. Don't speak. The first one to talk loses, right? That's like rule number 1. Let me go to it. I have the clip. I need to just share the fucking clip. Video. Okay. I understand. Let's proceed. I should have the clip. This one should do it. Let's see.
You're right to stick a price here in small numbers to show that's a small number. 1/3 of that is your down payment. 3 times the first 2 numbers of the purchase price is about what the payments per month will.
I use this too when you show them, like when you're going over John 8:34. No, try and you don't want to minimize it, but at the same time, you don't want them to think it's really. You want them, like, they have to know it's a big deal. You want them to remember the verse. You're going to pull it out of the garbage a whole bunch of times. You're going to go back to it, but you want them to be comfortable with you. You don't want them to be afraid. You don't want them to think that you're just fucking hammering them, which they're going to. Like, that's a big thing too. Like, you could be as nice as you want. I've tested this multiple times to prove it to people that I could go on to a show and talk softly just like this and show somebody John 8:34, and they will accuse me of hatred and being a prick. It doesn't matter how you do it. But you want to be as effective as you can. So it does help to kind of be like, here, can you read me this verse? It's not really that big of a deal, but I need you to read this verse. And then when you plant that little seed, like it's not really that big of a deal, they'll read it. They'll be like, okay, wait, I just told you I sin. This makes me deserving of sin. And when you do that, you're kind of helping them figure it out for themselves too. It's just fun. This whole thing is fun. It's a fun process, but it's a huge honor. It's a huge responsibility. I just want you guys to be able to be as effective as possible. So I'm showing you everything I possibly can to help you be as effective as possible. But at the same token, never forget, you are the guide. You are the professional. You are the one that's supposed to know your shit. You are supposed to be the one to lead them through it. You are the leader, not the follower. And you have to remember that. It's an honor to have that. It's an honor to know the truth because you get to walk other people through it. You can't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to be loud either. Shit, man, it gets you guys have seen it get crazy as fuck on my channel. So this is what it is. So I'll just leave the rest for next time. I love y'all. I salute the brethren. Fucking do your jobs. Be effective. Maybe we do close on one verse. It means what it says. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. It means exactly what it says. And for everybody that walks around that still serves sin, that still sins, look around you. Do you really want to be in that group? Just saying. I love y'all. I salute the brethren, and I will talk to you guys Thursday night. Lord willing. Adios.